The following podcast is a next level production.
It's a new year, and we're back with all new episodes. Welcome to Wilhelm. I am your host, Ben Beck, and on this episode, we are taking a look back at some of our favorite movies and television from 2021. And to do that, I need help from my co-host. He's the creator of the Podcastica network, as well as the host of multiple shows on that network. He's a former guest on Wilhelm. Please welcome back my great friend, Jason Cabassi.
Hello. I love talking about this kind of stuff because it's like our very favorites. And that's kind of what I like the most about podcasting, is just getting into something that I'm really into. Yeah. And this was a great year for TV for sure. And a couple of awesome movies too.
And surprisingly so too, considering we're still in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah.
But we still had great stuff come out of it. And it's, you know, that's a great thing. I know you did an episode on your favorite stuff of the year on an episode of one of your Podcastica shows. I refrained from listening to it because I didn't want it to spoil this conversation, but I'll go back and listen to it once we're done.
There's a couple things that have come out since I did that. So if you did hear it, if you're hearing my voice right now, there'll be some new stuff.
Oh, awesome. Oh yeah. And I know there's some people that listen to both. So
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this was tough. This was really tough. We're going to do our top 5 favorite movies that came out of 2021. And then we're also going to do top 5 favorite television shows that we loved in 2021. Television doesn't have to be shows that debuted in 2021. They were just shows that we really enjoyed watching. They might have had just really excellent seasons in 2021. And as I mentioned, and as I mentioned in previous episodes, going into this year, television is going to start being incorporated into Wilhelm. So this is the perfect opportunity to kick that off.
That is cool because over time, you know, when I was a kid, if you were a movie actor, you didn't want to be caught dead on TV.
Yeah.
But now it's not like that at all. And some of the best writing is on TV. I mean, everybody hearing me knows that by now, but I just think it's cool.
Well, not only that, but I mean, like, it's starting to go into not just, you're right. It's anybody who was there was a definite separation between film actor and television actor. And television actors wanted to become movie actors, but it was never the other way around.
Nope.
And
TV was low rent.
And you wouldn't even be caught dead doing a commercial because that meant your career was over.
Unless you were in Japan or something.
Yeah.
Because there was no internet, so no one would ever know.
Exactly. And now you have Kathy Bates doing commercials for this app-based game, which I saw this commercial last week, I think it was. I forget what the name of the game. I think it's like Mystery Mansion or something like that. And I'm watching the commercial and I'm like, is that Kathy Bates? Like, how much money did they pay? And there's like a series. There's like 5 or 6 of them. And they're hysterical.
That's cool. We should try the game.
You can find I think I did play the game before and I just got tired of it. Much like many of those app-based games. Although many of us are still playing Beat Saber. Not Beat Saber, Beat Star.
Beat Star
all the time.
I did the same with Beat Star. We don't want to go too much down a tangent probably, but World of Warcraft, I was just sucked in and to the detriment of other areas of my life. And I just made myself go, okay, that was my World of Warcraft. I'm done. Kind of did the same thing with Beat Star.
Yeah.
But it's so great. It's so much fun.
It was fun. Sure. I've unlocked all the songs, so it's kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't need to play all as much as I used to. I've gone as far as I can go. So this is most likely going to be a little bit of a longer episode because, as I mentioned, we are doing top 5 favorite movies with some honorable mentions, top 5 favorite television with some honorable mentions, and we'll look forward a little bit too. We'll throw some things out there I know we're looking forward to for 2022, and we've got a bunch of feedback, which is awesome. And I can't wait I haven't read most of it, so I can't wait to dive into it when we get to that point. You ready to go? You want to kick this off?
Sure.
All right. So just a reminder of the format of the show if you're new or if you've just forgotten. Neither Jason or myself has revealed any of our choices for our top 5 lists as not to influence each other. So I don't know any of his at this point. He doesn't know any of mine. I think I have a couple guesses, but we don't know for sure. And there's always a chance for spoilers when talking about our choices. So you have been warned about that. That said, let's get into it. Top 5 movies of 2021, our favorite movies of 2021. Starting with number 5, what do you got?
My number 5 for top 5 movies of 2021 is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
That was a great movie.
And I was really looking forward to that because the Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite Marvel movie, and he directed that. And then he got fired from Disney, and Warner Brothers said, well, come on over here and do a Suicide Squad. And I was like, yeah, he would be so good on that. And he was. And he got to be like in Guardians of the Galaxy, there were a couple raunchy jokes and things, but he just went full bore raunch and gore.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that Warner Brothers not only said like, hey, come on over and do Suicide Squad, but we'll give you carte blanche, like no interference from the studio. And man, did that turn out amazing.
And I think, some people, it was too much for some people, and I totally don't blame you if you fall in that category. I mean, there was even one scene that was a bit much for me. I don't know. I feel weird spoiling these because we're talking about so many different things, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to try not to best as I can.
Not too much.
Yeah.
But if you saw the movie, maybe you know which movie I thought was a bit too, like, you're making a joke out of that. But I did think it was kind of funny, and I don't know if everyone picked up on this, but there's these alien stars that attach on people's faces, and I think he deliberately made those look like anuses.
That would not surprise me, knowing James Gunn.
Right.
It would not surprise me at all. But yeah, Suicide Squad is in my honorable mentions because I was right there with you. The moment I heard James Gunn was attached to that movie, I was like, okay, how can this be bad?
Yeah.
And then you start hearing about the amazing cast and all the actors that were cast in it. You had,
they were great.
Idris Elba, you had Margot Robbie returning, you had David Desmalchin,
Sylvester Stallone as a big shark. I didn't even know that was him at first, but I loved the character.
Yeah, it was just
can I eat this? No.
Hand. Fluga Borg, Nathan Fillion, many people that James Gunn has worked with in the past. He loves using his friends in his projects.
Brooker was in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was my first time actually seeing Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I didn't see the original Suicide Squad or Birds of Prey.
She's great. She's great as Harley Quinn. She's basically almost the embodiment of Harley Quinn.
I know.
Yeah, she was so good. No, that's a good one. That one was on my honorable mentions as well because yes, it was raunchy. Yes, there are definitely over the top moments, but it was just fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was.
And funny and made me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, I remember seeing and this will be my final note on it, but I remember seeing all these people getting cast in the movie as a lot of the names I mentioned already. And then I remember telling my friends, I'm like, this is James Gunn. They'll be dead before the opening credits.
That's a big cast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the Suicide Squad. Like, that's the whole point of them.
It was. Yeah. I was surprised at some of the things that happened, but in a good way.
It was so good. And now I know it's getting a spin-off series with John Cena and Peacemaker.
Yeah, I don't know much about that, but I know James Gunn he's the showrunner, so it's got to be worth checking out for sure.
And I think that debuts. Actually, I think by the time you're hearing this, it's debuted.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're recording this on a Tuesday. I think it debuts this Thursday. So by the time you're hearing this, I think it's out
on HBO, right?
Yeah, HBO Max.
HBO Max.
And I don't know if it's before Suicide Squad or after the Suicide Squad. I think it's after.
I think it's after, but yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool. So my number 5 is one that I know you're probably not going to agree with, and that's okay. My number 5 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know you weren't as big of a fan as some people were. We've had conversations about this, and it's totally fine. But for me,
and I know I'm in the minority, by the way, on that one.
I'm not going to kick you off the podcast because you didn't like the movie I loved.
I'm just saying, I'm not like, what? You like that? I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I'm not like, what? You didn't like that? I mean, I think I was at first, and then I was kind of like, it's fine. Like, I get it. I get the reasonings why. But to me, like, this was a movie that I was so excited about the moment they announced it. I'm also not hard to please. Like, I actually enjoyed the all-female reboot of Ghostbusters.
I did too, actually. Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
And so, but hearing that this was a continuation of Ghostbusters 2, some of the original cast is coming back, and this is going to be spawning off a whole new cast of characters. I was like, okay, I'm excited about this. And then the more information that came out with the return of Zool, and I'm not trying not to give too much away for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, because it is still relatively new. I think it just came out in October.
It's just very rewarding for fans of the original two movies.
And I think the reason why I love this movie so much, it's such a love letter to the fans. Yeah. There's so many callbacks without being fan serviced, in my opinion. I do get the pace of the movie is a little slow, especially in the first half of the movie, setting up with them moving and the introduction of the characters, which, look, it's a continuation of the franchise with all new characters. You're going to have to spend time on character development.
Get to know them, yeah.
Because you're not bringing back original characters, at least not until the end. And, the way they did that, I thought was great. But there's so many
the movie wasn't really about them so much.
Exactly.
It was,
And that was one of the things I appreciated about the movie, too. I know our friend Damien has a podcast, Watched It in the 80s. He came on Wilhelm to talk about the Ghostbusters franchise, and then I went on Watch It in the 80s to do a review of Afterlife.
That's cool.
And one of the things I mentioned was I appreciated the fact that they brought the original characters back, all 4 of them, by the way. That's a little bit of a spoiler. Actually, that's a big spoiler. Sorry. But they didn't rely on them to be the heroes of the story. Mm-hmm. They basically assisted these new characters. They didn't overshadow, like they didn't set up all this character development of these new characters and then bring in these 3 original guys, and it overshadowed everything that they did.
Right.
Which was a fear. So, but this movie was such a love letter. I saw it twice in theaters, and the emotional notes hit even harder the second time. And I just loved it. I honestly, I can't wait to watch it again at whatever point I get to do it.
The things I did like mostly was the acting. I liked Carrie Coon a lot. I liked McKenna Grace.
She was fantastic in that movie.
Phoebe. And she was in Handmaid's Tale. I don't think you watched that, right?
No.
But we, Daphne and Wendy and I covered season 4, and McKenna Grace was a character, and she was good on that too. So it was really fun to see her play a different kind of character in this. And then Paul Rudd is always great.
Yeah, I think I saw some people had a couple complaints about Paul Rudd's character. Like I think they expected him to be a little bit more comedic, and he didn't come off that way. I kind of appreciated that, though. The fact that he wasn't as comedic as people has expected him to be.
I mean, I don't want to get too much into why I didn't like it, because that's not what this is all about. And I didn't hate it. It was cool, but I just thought it would be funnier. And I wasn't laughing. And so that was one of the things. And yes, it was kind of slow. And so I was just like, okay, what is this? But like I said, I know I'm in the minority.
I thought Logan Kim as podcast was great.
Yeah. He was funny.
Yeah. It was a great cast. I agree. The acting was great. I couldn't, again, you look at when we get to some of my honorable mentions, it was tough because there's some that I really wanted to put in my top 5 that I couldn't. But let's move on. Okay. Number 4, what you got?
Okay, so I feel like the next 3 on my list are going to be a little weird, but hey, that's This is me being honest.
Yeah.
So number 4 is a porn. No, I'm just kidding. I watched it 50 times. So just no, it's
technically qualify.
It came out in 2021,
and it was a movie.
No, it's a movie. It's an adaptation of a play. It's called The Humans. You heard of it?
With Stephen Yeun.
Yeah, with Stephen Yeun.
I didn't get a chance to see it, but it is on my list to watch because I've heard really great things.
I mean, I want to warn anyone hearing this who hasn't seen it. I think there's an equal chance that it will just annoy the hell out of you.
Well, it's basically about a family getting together for dinner, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And it's they're kind of a dysfunctional family, and they're in this old house that's the daughter and her boyfriend is Stephen Yeun have just bought and moved. They're moving in together. And it's interesting because it's just kind of banal conversations with his family, but it's staged in a really interesting way where you see a lot of scenes through open doorways from the other room, and you don't get close-ups on their faces, and it mirrors what's going on among them because there's a disconnection and they're not like gelling and they're not on the same wavelength, and you're feeling like you want more connection too. And then like 20 minutes into the movie, you get your first like full on shot of someone's face, and it's like you get a feeling from that, like, whoa, you know. And then the other really weird and interesting thing about it is that it towards the end starts playing like a horror movie. Even though it's just about conversations, there's these banging sounds and there's dark, creepy spaces, and the camera will like, there's a quiet scene with a slow pan, and then it's kind of like a jump scare, but it's just a bird or another person. But it somehow gets you feeling on edge while you're watching it. It's not like anything I've ever seen before, which I think is one reason why I really liked it. I want to watch it again. But then another favorite moment, which I will spoil because it's so much fun, is Stephen Yeun's character starts talking about zombies, and he's like, and then the mom's like, or he's like, you know, the zombie show, and then his mom's like, I can't believe people want to watch that stuff. So that's like a total wink and a nod, a
little meta moment for the
kind of a thing
for the audience.
But I found it really interesting and unusual, and definitely want to go back and watch it again and see if it still lives up to this place I have in my mind for it. But I know that some people will just be like, what is this? You know?
Yeah,
those kind of movies. It's
one that's been on my list, as I mentioned, ever since I heard about it. Because from what I even saw, I know June Squibb is in the cast, and Richard Jenkins, and I think Amy Schumer is also in the cast.
Amy Schumer's in the cast, and I liked her at first, but slowly came to not really be able to stand her very much. She just started to irk me, but in this movie, she's really good. I thought she was great, and Beanie Feldstein is in it too.
So it's got a pretty great cast.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. Like, I used to be a big Amy Schumer fan, but I kind of grew out of her.
Yeah.
After a little while.
But here she's just playing a role. She's not being comedic at all, and she's a good actress.
Cool.
I was surprised.
It's I'm going to have to bump it up my list now because it's funny.
Please forgive me if you hate it.
No, not at all. I mean, this is one of those things that's weird because I know you and I were talking about this when we were prepping for this. There's, believe it or not, there are 2 movies on my top 5 I did not see until last night.
Oh, wow.
Because I was still catching up on them. And then when I watched them, I was like, how did I wait this long to see these movies? My number 4 is actually one of them.
There's one movie that I watched today that almost made the list. It's my first honorable mention.
Yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to have to, and The Humans was one of when I was looking at the list of movies for 2021 I hadn't seen yet. I wanted to watch a couple last night, The Humans was almost one of the ones I watched last night.
Mm.
So, and now, I'm going to have to check it out. It'll be on my list. But that brings me to my number 4. And like I said, one of the 2 movies that I watched last night that I was like, okay, this has to be in my top 5. My number 4 is Disney's Encanto.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet, but I'm really curious.
I've realized as I get older, the easier it is to make me cry.
Me too. I think the same. Yeah.
Like the more emotional I get at movies and television, and Disney is a huge part of that. Like Disney movies always make me cry. And I'm watching this movie last night, and I'm only like 5-10 minutes into it. And I'm already enjoying it. Like, it's very catchy, and I love the characters already. And then something happens in the movie, not to spoil anything. And I'm like, I'm already ready to cry. This movie, I don't have a chance of not crying at this movie. And I didn't. I cried at the end.
When I cry in a movie, I automatically, it goes up like 3 notches of how much I like it.
Yeah. And that was
usually,
because it hits you. Like, there's something about it that like really affects you. That's the reason why you cry at it. Like Ghostbusters Afterlife made me cry. Encanto made me cry. There's another movie in my top 5 that made me cry. So
Suicide Squad didn't make me cry.
No, I don't think it made me cry.
Made me laugh.
Although when Polka Dot Man screams, "I'm a superhero."
Yeah, that was pretty touching.
That was actually kind of touching.
Polka Dot Man was awesome.
David Dastmalchian is he's so underrated. But Encanto was it's so much fun. When I posted online last night that I was watching it, I had so many people comment like, "You're gonna love it." Like this, and every single person was right. And then one of my best friends even reached out this morning. He's like, "What did you think about Encanto?" I was like, "I loved it." I was like, "I want to watch it again." He's like, "Yeah, we've watched it 4 times." I
gotta watch it.
It's so good. And I want to watch it again. It's got a great cast. Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, John Leguizamo, Wilmer Valderrama, and a bunch of other like Hispanic people doing the voices of these Spanish characters. And it's just, it's just so catchy. And I want to watch it again. It's
not Pixar, right?
It's not Pixar. It's just Disney Animation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. No, it's Walt Disney. It's not Pixar.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, my Jenny and the kids were somewhere else, and they watched it without me, so I'm going to have to watch it by myself.
I was actually just thinking that. I'm like, I'm surprised you haven't seen it with the kids.
They have.
But, okay. You should watch it. It's
yeah. I like all those movies for sure.
I do too. So, moving on. Number 3. I didn't check this with you beforehand, but I hope it's okay. It's a documentary. It's Val. It's okay. I want to see it.
Yeah. It was so good. It's this. So Val Kilmer, if you don't know, carried a camera around with him most of his life and filmed a ton of what he was doing. And going back to when he was a kid with his brother, making little movies. And when he was on his movies, he filmed on set. And now, if you don't know, he had, I think, throat cancer, and he could barely speak. He has to hold this thing up to his throat and, sounds like that. So he had his son, Jack Kilmer, who sounds and looks also a lot like him, narrate it. And it was just it had a really great vibe to it. It's kind of contemplative and poetic and about the artsiness of his family and the trials and tribulations too. But it had a nice feel, and it was super fun to see him go through all his big movies, Top Gun, Willow, The Doors, Batman. Like, he hated playing Batman. Heats, and I think he's got he doesn't have a perfect reputation, and this definitely was from his point of view. So I think it made him look pretty good, but it was very, very enjoyable to watch. I loved it.
Yeah, that's a documentary that's been on my list too, and I think that totally counts. For a top 5.
I think a lot of people listening would enjoy that for sure.
And I didn't even really think to include documentaries in my movies, because I'll be honest with you, one that I'm just going to say, just because we're including documentaries now, would be in my honorable mentions is More Than Miyagi.
Oh yeah, that's in my honorable mentions too.
With Pat Morita. The Pat Morita documentary was amazing.
Yeah.
And so touching, and just about his life and learning so much.
And Happy Days
him.
is one of my favorite shows too. I mean, everyone knows Cobra Kai, I love, and Karate Kid, but Happy Days too. So it was great to watch.
Well, I enjoy Happy Days too, because it introduced a character that I love, which was Mork.
Right. Yeah. I remember that back in the day. It's very dramatic. He froze Fonzie and only his thumb could move.
Yep. I think that totally counts, and that's one that I have to bump up on my list. I wanted to see it ever since I saw the trailer for it, And I just, for some reason,
I think it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's an Amazon Studios documentary, so it's on Amazon Prime. But yeah, I'm gonna have to add that to the list too. I'm constantly adding stuff to my list of stuff to watch. But that's what I love about this podcast.
Yeah. I've definitely added stuff to my list just from listening to episodes of Wilhelm.
So, my number 3 is actually the second movie that I watched last night. And this is one that was on my list for a while because I remember seeing the trailer and being like, okay, that I feel like I need to see that. It's a movie called Mass.
I don't know if I've heard of this one.
It's very small cast. It's basically 4 main people and 3 supporting roles. But the main people are 2 of the main people are Jason Isaacs and Martha Plimpton. Jason Isaacs and Martha Plimpton play the parents. It is a very heartbreaking and heavy film. But I feel like with things happening in the world today, I really feel like people need to see this movie. Jason Isaacs and Martha Plimpton play the mother and father of a student who was killed in a school shooting. And Ann Dowd and Reed Birney play the parents.
I did hear this.
Of the shooter.
Holy shit.
And they meet for they just have a meeting in a church, in a back room of a church. And the whole movie is basically these 2 sets of parents having a conversation for the first time about everything, about the deaths of their children, one of them being the one that killed the other. It is such a heavy movie, as I mentioned, but there's not really any score to it, which I think enhances it because it allows the dialogue to deliver the drama.
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue is like, it's, again, I couldn't stop watching once I watched it after Encanto. I should have watched it before Encanto because of how heavy the movie was. Yeah. But like once it started and the conversation happened and the conversation kicked in, I couldn't stop watching. And, you know, as when you see this stuff like this happen in the world today, where, you know, students are killed by another student, you always feel for the people that died and not the shooter. And this movie kind of, not to like say what they're doing is right, but it lets you see from a different perspective what the parents of that person is going through as well.
It's really, I'm fascinated. I'm adding that to my list too.
It was
I had noticed that earlier and then forgot about it, but and I don't know if you realize that I'm looking it up on Wikipedia. Written and directed by Fran Kranz, who was Topher Brink in Dollhouse.
And this was also his directorial debut.
That's amazing.
Which
I just remember him as this kind of quirky, you know, geek from that show. Mass.
And let me tell you, Ann Dowd is fantastic, and Jason Isaacs is amazing. Martha Plimpton killed, like, I don't want to use killed. That's a bad word to use for this movie.
Nailed it, I guess. Maybe.
She absolutely knocked this role out of the park. Absolutely knocked this role out of the park. Like, you feel for her every moment she is in that room.
Yeah, I love her. Pump up the volume.
Raising Hope, The Goonies, yeah. She's fantastic, and she's great in this movie.
That's a great one.
I recommend people check that one out. I didn't want to go all like incredibly popular movies in my top
culture,
5.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw 1 or 2 in there that people might not have heard of or
That's
seen.
Great.
And
I love it.
Mass is definitely one of them.
Cool.
So we're at our top 2. So what have you got for number 2?
Definitely not a pop culture movie.
Okay.
But a good one that I think anyone who gave it a shot would love. It's another Stephen Yeun movie, Minari.
I had a feeling this was going to be in your top 5.
It was just so good. I mean, if you're a Walking Dead fan, you're going to want to, you're gonna love Stephen Yeun in this, and he's the father of this family who immigrated from Korea and is trying to make it as a farmer, and his wife doesn't want to. She just wants to go to the city and get jobs, but he wants to prove he can make it. And they have 2 kids who are cute but not too precocious. It's a very grounded movie, and it's really smart. The characters feel fleshed out. It avoids cliches, but they're in this small like Midwestern town and trying to gel with people who have never seen an Asian before, but it's sweet. It's sweet, and it's also kind of anxious a lot of the time because the parents are fighting, and there's this grandmother who's this quirky, great character off the beaten path. Great acting. I mean, he got an Oscar nomination for that role, and the best thing I can say about it is that it's one of those movies where after watching it, I just felt like my heart was full from having seen it. It's good.
Yeah, and 2 Stephen Yeun movies in your top 5, and I'm actually excited. I'm excited for you because like you're going to get to talk to him about those movies if you want to in March.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'd love to. Because
you're joining me for Fandemic, and I already have, and Stephen Yeun's going to be a guest down in Atlanta, and I already have him earmarked for you. So it's
nice. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him about both those a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely somebody who's I don't want to say up and coming because he's been shining for a while, but he's starting to get.
He really is particular about how he wants his career to go, and that he doesn't want to be typecast, I think, because these 2 movies, The Humans and Minari, he plays very different characters, and they're both very different characters from Glenn in The Walking Dead. And the other movie I saw him in that was amazing is Burning from a few years back. And that was, again, I mean, a really
I didn't see that one.
Evil guy. So, yeah, that's worth watching. Really, definitely is. I'm really impressed with the kind of roles he's been landing.
But he still picks some fun roles from time to time too. I mean, Mayhem is just
with Samara Weaving,
who I love.
Yeah,
that is just a crazy movie, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, he's really. And then Okja was good in that too. That was a much different kind of movie too.
Yeah, and he also I think Sorry to Bother You was another movie he was in.
Didn't see that one.
And I know he does voice acting in Voltron and Invincible. So, I mean, yeah, he's
so many different types of things.
He's definitely expanding his range, which is great. And he's well deserving of that Oscar nomination that he got.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get more of those, if not a win later on down the road.
Right.
He's still young too, isn't he? I think he's
young.
He's young. He's 38. Yeah.
But yeah. He's got some time.
So he's younger than both of us.
That's right. It's not saying much. No, I'm just
kidding. So my number 2 is, this is tough because I almost made this one my number 1. I have a feeling we share our number 1. Because it's almost a given, but I almost made this one my number 1 for a couple different reasons. My number 2 is Last Night in Soho, which is Edgar Wright's latest movie. Another one that I know didn't stand out as much to you as it did to other people, but I know you enjoyed it because you like Edgar Wright.
Yeah, I just wouldn't put it on my top 5 list, but I want to see it again too. I've been thinking about it more, which it means maybe
it did something.
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, like Edgar Wright, I'm a huge fan of Edgar Wright. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows, along with our friend Paige Allen, who's a huge fan of Edgar Wright.
Yeah, that was an amazing episode you guys did.
That was basically just a geek out session.
I mean, I love Edgar Wright too. I've seen all his movies and Spaced, but I learned so much from listening to you guys. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not as big a fan as I thought I was.
I remember doing that episode too, because I told Paige, I was like, listing these as in top 5 order. Let's just put them in my hand, shake them up, throw them, and whatever order they land in, that's the order I'm going with. But Last Night in Soho was just, I was so excited to see this from the moment the trailer came out. And what kept me interested was the fact that I didn't know what it was. Like, the trailer was put together so well that it kept it a mystery as to what kind of movie it was. It looks like there's time travel. So is it sci-fi? No, it's not sci-fi. Is it horror? Is it drama? Is it like, what is it? And it's kind of a mix of all of it. Like it's definitely a horror. It's a drama. It's a mystery. It's got an amazing cast in Thomas and Mackenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, who is amazing. Matt Smith, Diana Rigg from which I think this was her final role before she passed away. Mm-hmm. And
from Game of Thrones and the Avengers, the old Avengers series in the 60s.
Yeah. And Terrence Stamp, who I'm still a fan of as, Jor-El from Superman back from late 70s.
That's right.
And this movie just kept me guessing. It kept me engaged. I didn't see the ending coming at all.
Right. Me neither.
Which was a huge plus for me. So when you can surprise me watching a movie.
And then I like when there's a twist like that. And then you go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And when you go back and you rewatch it, which I did, and you pick up on all those clues that you're like,
I haven't done that.
Like it was there the whole time. Never even picked up on it. It's kind of like Bruce Willis being dead the whole time in Sixth Sense. Mm-hmm. Although that was a bigger shock than this was. But yeah, it's just Edgar Wright has a way of incorporating music into storytelling in all his projects, and this to me was just no exception. And I almost made it my number one because I don't like, yes, my number one is huge, it deserves to be my number one, but I kind of wanted to put this as my number one because of originality.
Yeah,
like that almost secured the number one spot for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I actually appreciate that you can't necessarily pigeonhole it into a certain genre, because I think as an artist, as a director and writer, you should just make what you want and not worry about that if you can, I mean, a lot of times the studios won't let you get away with it. But if you're someone like Edgar Wright, you can do that,
Yeah. And I can't wait. He's still to this, like he has, I think, Last Night in Soho was movie number 6, 7 if you include Sparks, and I don't think he's put out a movie yet I haven't enjoyed.
Yeah, definitely not me. I didn't see Sparks yet, but I'm gonna.
It's so good.
But I would say to me, it felt like a really good episode of The Twilight Zone.
I get that. It does have
which
that
is not a slight. I mean, I love The Twilight Zone. It's freaking great.
Or almost like an episode, like an extended episode of Black Mirror, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I get it.
And and I feel like the way he just puts everything together visually and pacing wise, it almost feels like a song, and it's so deliberate, but it's not as like, I like the Wes Anderson movies, but they feel a little bit constrained or something, like tight, or I don't know how to say it, but Edgar Wright's movies, they feel free flowing and loose, and yet still you can tell that he knows every detail of what's in every frame,
Yeah. And like, even watching it the first time, I was in awe, because just like a quick synopsis of the story is that it's about this character, Eloise, who kind of travels into the past in, it's not really clear if it's consciousness or physically or whatever. I think it's more consciousness, but like there are these transitions throughout the movie where it goes back and forth between Eloise and Sandy. Like there's a whole dance number with Matt Smith where he's dancing with Sandy, and then the camera will pan and he's now dancing with Eloise. And it's like, it's so well choreographed.
It's kind of psychedelic.
Well, and when you watch I immediately went home and watched behind the scenes footage of it, like how they made that dance scene, and you find out there's no CGI in that scene.
It's choreographed it with the camera.
Yeah, that they're literally ducking out of frame and coming up, and it's so super well done. It's cool. That like I adore that movie, and it's just that I had, like I said, almost my number one. But
you're making me like it more as I hear you talk about it. But I did like it.
Cool.
Creepy.
So that brings us to our number one. I have a feeling it's the same, because my number one, I know you love too, and you haven't brought it up yet. So what have you got? What's your number one?
It is Resident Evil. No, I'm just kidding.
I was waiting. I'm like, what?
Welcome to Raccoon City. Just kidding. It's, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Of course.
Yep. Which I feel really hesitant to talk spoilers about, but maybe we're far enough out that we could just warn people.
I think there's been enough revealed. There's been enough certain things revealed about certain people that are in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's articles all over the place about Andrew Garfield talking about it. So I think it's safe to say we can.
Okay. If you don't want to know who's in the movie, then you should probably not listen to this part because we're going to talk about that.
we're going to mention some spoilers.
Yeah. But one thing aside from the spoilers that or the who's in the movie that I really liked is I like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies a lot.
I do too.
But one thing that has been kind of missing in those movies for me is the angst of Spider-Man. Even though Tony Stark dies, I just still didn't feel like the tragedy that that's a big part of his character usually. And having that come in a big way, I didn't realize I was missing it, but I'm like, oh, he feels more like the Spider-Man I love from the comics now. Mm-hmm. So that was a big part of why I loved it. But really, I mean, just the joy of seeing all these return characters and the villains in particular, I think it was genius because Marvel likes to keep things fresh. And so but I would argue Spider-Man and Batman are the two heroes with the best rogues galleries. Mm-hmm. And, you know, some people think it's Spider-Man, some Batman, but Spider-Man's up there. And for the MCU to just like bring their own MCU versions of these back might feel a little stale. I mean, I'm sure they could do it great, but sort of ironically, the freshest thing to do was to bring back the ones we've already seen.
Yeah.
You know, it just works so well.
And what a lot of people don't realize too, and I'm sure this is something that you probably do, but I know I've kind of brought this up to some people. And like, I brought it up to some people. I was like, well, you don't realize the implications of what this means. Like, it's not just bringing in these characters and then showing the characteristic of Tom Holland Spider-Man, like wanting to cure these people and not kill these people, and then actually curing them by the end of the movie. But he's curing them and then sending them home, which changes the landscape of every universe we've seen already. Because now you're sending Norman Osborn home, not Green Goblin.
Right.
Which means in that universe, in Tobey Maguire's universe, Norman Osborn is now still alive. As is Otto Octavius.
And, you know, I mean, the things that I loved about this movie, I loved so much that, as you've probably heard me say, I'm pretty sure it's my favorite superhero movie of all.
And I kind of agree with you. It is Spider-Man 2 up to this point with Alfred Molina,
right,
was my favorite Spider-Man movie.
I love that one too.
This topped it.
But I'm saying superhero movie. My favorite of any superhero movie I've ever seen. I got to watch it again to make sure.
It's a pretty tight race between No Way Home and Endgame.
Yeah,
for me.
I would say the same. Endgame is right up there for me too.
Yeah.
Even though I said just a minute ago that Guardians was my favorite, but I don't know if I consider that a superhero movie. Anyway, but I did feel myself a bit critical of, like, okay, he really, they're going to cure them, and that they're basing that, and they let him go. And I kind of felt like, okay, you had a chance to get these guys out of here and you let them go. And that reminds me of when Spider-Man let the burglar go and he killed Uncle Ben. What if he'd let these guys go and went back to the lab to try to figure out how to cure them, and they went out and killed a bunch of people? It would have been the same thing.
Well, I mean, but in a sense, though, that's actually kind of what we got, because one of the things that No Way Home really made me realize was that, yes, like we had in Tobey Maguire Spider-Man franchise, we saw the origin of Spider-Man. In Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man franchise, we saw the origin of Spider-Man. And I know a lot of people were like, okay, we're just throwing Spider-Man out there. Everybody knows his origin. Everybody knows how he got bit by a spider. We're sick of seeing it. We're sick of seeing it. But what No Way Home made us realize, and I don't know if this was always the plan or if it just worked out this way, that we did get an origin story for Spider-Man. It was just 3 movies, not an introduction to a movie.
But I guess my point is just that it felt a little weird to let the villains go, and that was supposed to be a good thing in the context of the movie. But I felt like, oh, that's a bit irresponsible because they're stark raving mad, and won't you feel guilty if something goes wrong?
But is irresponsibility, as it did in the originals, letting the burglars go in both the other two, is irresponsibility of allowing these people loose to try and cure them, is ultimately he did end up paying the same price as the other two did.
But I don't think the movie is saying he messed up, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a little different.
But that aside, I mean, a couple big things I want to say is that I feel like a lot of times when there's business dealings in the behind the scenes, and they can actually mess up a movie because one studio won't let something happen, or it's contracts or whatever, Carl dies in The Walking Dead or whatever. In this case, the behind the scenes stuff where Marvel doesn't own Spider-Man and Sony does, but they're working together, actually created this possibility for, and I'm so impressed that they actually went there to totally make the best out of this weird situation by going back to all the Sony movies and using that, but having it be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just a fanboy's dream come true,
It really was. I mean, and just like, as I mentioned, like there were two movies in my top 5 that made me cry. Spider-Man No Way Home was the other one.
Oh, God,
I cried
so
a
emotional.
number of times in this movie. I mean, there's a huge death that happens in this movie. I won't spoil that. But I remember being in the theater, and there's like an iconic Spider-Man line that we have not heard in this franchise, and we hear it in this movie. And then I remember like hearing those words uttered. And the theater, I went and saw it on opening night, and the theater like erupts in applause.
Yeah.
And the Spider-Man fan in me is like, what are you applauding for? That means this person's about to die. Why are you applauding? Do you know nothing
But I love
about
being
this
in the
franchise?
theater with excited people who are like, so every entrance got applause. And the thing that I love the most, I mean, I heard rumors that, okay, they're trying to get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to come back. Andrew is probably going to do it, but from what I was gathering, maybe Toby was being a dick and the negotiations weren't working out or something. And so I thought maybe Andrew Garfield would come back for a quick cameo, or maybe best of all worlds, both of them. Maybe they'd be in the after credit scene or something. So when it turned out that they both came back and were a huge part of the movie, I was overjoyed. And not only that they were a big part of it, but just the way they did it, where they were all brothers and they formed like the Spider-Man support group and just really support and understood each other and made each other, or made me laugh. It was funny as hell. And then in particular, the scene, which
pointing.
I won't spoil, but the pointing and saying, Peter, I'm Peter. Oh, Peter Parker. Well, I'm Peter Parker too. But
they brought a meme to life.
Yeah, right. That's so right. Good. That's so good. I didn't even realize that. Yep. But the one that made me the most emotional, because I didn't like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man
I already know where
movies.
you're going.
I think he was great in them, but I thought the writing was so bad. But he was so good in this movie, and the scene where he saves a certain person it just really, really got me so hard.
That hit me. That particular scene, I think, hit me harder than any other scene in that movie.
Yeah,
because I know the backstory behind his getting emotional over that. And I agree with you. I think the first Amazing Spider-Man movie is incredibly underrated. The second one is oh God, it needs to be retconned so bad.
It's crazy, yeah.
And not to spend too much time on this, because I know we're both just geeking out about Spider-Man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like
it was so good though. It's
the other scene that really got me emotional, but in a like I'm nerding out so hard kind of way, kind of like the same way when Cap catches Mjolnir in Endgame, or when he finally says Avengers Assemble, like nerd chills. The scene in No Way Home that did that was when the three of them agreed to finally like work together, and then they just take off and they're swinging together and
the
off
action
of each
was
other.
so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, like that's I mean, this movie really hit on a whole bunch of different levels: the humor, the writing, the characterizations, the action, the story, all of it.
And the aftermath of the movie really grounds the character. And going forward, this is going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that the other movies have given us, that started with. Now we're going to get that going forward, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
No suit, no like technology suits or anything. No nano technology. It's just him, homemade costume, swinging around the streets of New York, and I can't wait.
And I love that there was no J. Jonah Jameson in the other Tom Holland movies until the end, and they were just like, forget it. We can't find anyone better than what's his name?
Oh, J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, just get him again.
J.K. Simmons is so great in that role.
Yeah.
He is the embodiment of J. Jonah Jameson.
Right.
It's so good. Yeah, and I think like this will be my last note on it too, but one of my other favorite parts, and this is just me being bitter, one of my other favorite parts about this movie, seeing it opening night, I'm not a fan of the Venom movies. I haven't never been a fan of the Venom movies because I'm a purist and I'm like, how can you create Venom without Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the whole point of it. And I know when Let There Be Carnage came out, there was an end credit scene of him crossing over into the MCU and seeing Tom Holland on the screen. And everybody getting excited, like, "Oh, he's crossing over. They're going to
fight.
Yeah, they're going to fight. They're going to join forces."
I was one of those people.
Were you?
Yeah.
And then there's the post-credit scene in No Way Home that sees him get sent back.
I'm like, what?
His world.
You're like, and yes.
My favorite part was just hearing the audible groans from the audience of like you did, like, what? Like,
what does this mean?
They never met. And it was all just, all right, I won't ruin what that scene actually does, but that was just a great moment for me that inside I was hysterically laughing.
That's hilarious
that they did that. I was like, joke's on you.
I kind of like the Venom movies. They're not my favorite, but I think they're pretty fun. But I also, there's a part of me that's like, that's not how Venom is, why can't they just get Venom right? First it's Topher Grace and now this.
I mean, like his hatred, not to dive into a comic book tangent, but I mean, his hatred for Peter Parker and Spider-Man is the reason he is who he is.
Yeah.
So
his story is, I mean, I wish they would just do the comic book story where Peter Parker gets an alien suit and wears it for a while, but it just looks like a black version of his costume. And then it starts taking him out at night without him knowing. And then you start realizing it's evil, but they can't do that now. Well, maybe they could, but we all know what Venom is now. So,
well, it's kind of set up to do that now. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
maybe we'll see. Not to ruin anything. So cool. Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be your number one as well.
I mean, it was just Spider-Man's been my favorite since I was a little kid and used to watch little segments on the Electric Company where he would teach kids how to read. And then there were the old 60s cartoons. I love those.
Yeah. Cool. So let's knock out a couple honorable mentions and then we can move on to the television side of things. But what's one of your honorable mentions on your list?
This is the one I saw today. It's a movie called Pig with Nicolas Cage.
It's on my list, and I keep hearing great things.
It's a weird movie. He plays this hermit who has this pig that routes for truffles, and he sells them to this guy who goes into town and resells them, but he barely talks, and looks like a homeless guy, dirty and a big bushy beard. And then someone breaks in and steals this pig, and the whole movie is about his attempt to get it back. But it's really interesting and unpredictable. And about 2/3 of the way through, when I was like, am I going to love this movie? I realized it was about something important to me, that I was like, oh yeah, this is deep too. So I really liked it.
Yeah. And I heard like I had some people like, when the premise came out and the synopsis was out about like him searching for his pig, everybody was like, oh, is this Nicolas Cage's John Wick?
Right. That's what people think. But
and they're like, no, like it's not.
But there is a very Fight Club like scene in it, but that's sort of not what the rest of the movie's like. He
has taken on some weird roles in the past couple years, and a lot of them are hit or miss. Like some of them, they're either complete misses, but if they don't miss, they hit hard.
Right. It's just like, let's try something crazy. And I think there's talk of, Oscar nom for this one.
That's great. Yeah. It's on my list. It's on my list to watch. And I really, every time I see it in my list, I'm like, oh, I need to watch that.
I think you'll like this one, actually.
That one. And what's the other one that he was in? it's kind of like a fighting. I think it's like a samurai movie for some reason. It's like Prisoners of Ghostland, which was another one he did last year in 2021, but I haven't watched yet. So
cool.
One of my honorable mentions. This one was so tough to not put in my top 5. Nobody with Bob Odenkirk.
Okay.
I take it you're not a fan of that movie.
I love Bob Odenkirk, and I think that movie had a lot of style, but this is another area where I'm not on the same page as most people, because I think it was directed by the John Wick guy, right?
Yes.
And it was similar to John Wick. And those movies, I just feel sad and depleted after watching them. I'm like, the hero just killed a lot of people, and we're supposed to be happy about it. And even though they're bad people, I just can't. So
right, fair enough.
That's my take, but
fair enough.
I know. I mean, I was stoked to see him doing something cool like that for sure, because I love Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, fair enough. What's another on your list?
Bo Burnham's Inside, the Netflix.
I still haven't seen it.
I would, what I would suggest is I'll send you, because it's sketches. If you guys don't know, Bo Burnham is kind of a stand-up comedian, former YouTuber, and he did a one-man show in his own apartment for during the first part of COVID. It's really creative and funny as hell and clever, but it's like discrete songs and things, so you could just listen to one or two songs and know for sure if you would enjoy the rest of it.
And I know I've talked to friends who have seen it and love it too. And I know he is somebody who was always, even pre-pandemic, has suffered from depression and anxiety.
Yeah. And
this really spotlights a lot of those feelings, because it's basically what it is. He's doing it from home alone. Yeah. As you're watching, for me, I felt like at any moment he could just fall apart psychologically, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. That's on my list as well. I just very interesting. Yeah. I'm for another one of mine. I'm going to go with Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. Okay. I like that one. Okay. That movie, it was another one. I know it got delayed quite a bit. And when it finally came out, I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. I'll watch almost anything he's in. He's just Mr. Magnetically Charming. And that movie, man, cracks me up so much. And it's so clever. I mean, it's, basically being inside a video game, and that's his world, and that's where he exists. And I know it's a premise that's kind of been done before, but this took such an original twist on it. And I was like, yeah, I'm where was it done? Well, I mean, being like Tron, I guess, entering into a video game, Tron, Ready Player One. Okay. Yeah. But this was a little different. Yeah. You're an actual character and you realize you're a character in a game. Yeah. When I heard the premise, I was like, how? That's kind of interesting, but are they really going to make that work? And they sure did. I thought it was really fun. Yeah. And it's just a blast of a movie. Mm-hmm. Okay. I got 3 more. My next one is Mitchell's versus the Machines. I keep hearing really good things. It's good. About that. I know. I don't even know why we decided to watch it. I was just like, let me see what's on Netflix that Nico and I could watch together. And oh, this looks cute. Let's start it. We probably won't finish. He gets bored real easy. We sat there and watched the whole thing. It's a family CG animated kids movie where robots take over the world, and but it's mostly about the connection between the dad and this daughter who's about to go to college. And it's fun and funny. It's funny. It's clever, and really liked it. It's at a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes too. Yeah. So I mean, it's on. No, you're gonna love it. I keep seriously, hearing, and I'm looking at the cast too. I mean, Abby Jacobson, Danny McBride, Maya Rudolph, Olivia Colman, Fred Armisen, Beck Bennett. It's got a great. Well, you lost me at Chrissy Teigen, but I don't even know who plays who. Yeah, I'm gonna. Maybe I don't want to find out who she played. I'll bump it up on my list because I keep hearing. I've heard great things about it. Yeah, I mean, I hope they make a sequel. That's how much I liked it. I'm like, I want more. I'm going to stay on the Ryan Reynolds train, and I'm going to go with Red Notice. I never saw that. I got to watch him, it. Gal Gadot, and Dwayne Johnson. Mm-hmm. It's just a fun action adventure movie, and again, I'm already a fan of Ryan Reynolds, and I'm a fan of Dwayne Johnson. So put them together, and it's just the first time they've been together, right? it's the first time they've been together as the co-stars of a movie. Ryan Reynolds is also in they are in a movie together, but Ryan Reynolds is it's Hobbs and Shaw, the spin-off of the Furious Fast and Furious movies. But Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart are both in that movie as well, but they're supporting characters.
Right.
This is the first time they shared the spotlight together in the movie, and it's great. It's fun.
Okay, my next one is Godzilla versus Kong, which I think is a super dumb story, but so amazing to watch. The monster scenes are I think the best I've ever seen.
It's fun.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, and I hope they make more of those movies.
I know. Yeah, really good.
I love the memes that came out of it, because one of the things I predicted was, Godzilla versus Kong. One of them's not going to win. There's going to be a greater evil that they're going to have to team up, and and I was like, okay, so it's basically Batman v Superman, but with monsters. And Godzilla and Kong are both going to find out their mom's name is Martha. Like,
their mom's name is
exactly. I'm going to stick with Dwayne Johnson this time too. I'm going to go with Jungle Cruise.
I didn't see that one either, but I heard it was good.
It was so much better than I expected, and it's another one of those movies where I just didn't see the ending coming, and it really pleased me. It's a lot of fun. Disney steps it up, man. Sometimes.
So that's on Disney Plus, right?
That's on Disney Plus. Yeah.
My last one is one we already kind of talked about, More Than Miyagi, the Pat Morita story, which I very much enjoyed, but it was kind of sad too.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great documentary. I highly recommend that one to anybody who's a fan of Pat Morita or Karate Kid or Happy Days, or which I know you're a huge fan of Karate Kid. I have two more, so I'll just knock them out real quick. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I thought was fantastic.
I did too. If not for a kind of a bit formulaic third act, I would have liked that even more, but I did like it a lot. But
highly action-packed in that third act,
though. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And it was so
But the
good.
San Francisco stuff was really cool.
Oh, that was great. And I was hit or miss on Awkwafina, and now I'm a hit. I'm a fan. Good. She's fantastic. And the other one I have, speaking of Andrew Garfield, is Tick, Tick, Boom.
I haven't seen that yet. I'm really curious.
Again, that's another one. Have tissues ready.
Okay.
It's just, it's basically, it's the real life story of the creator of Rent, and, how he came about creating that show and how he never even lived to see it.
Good timing with that, with Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Because everybody's probably in love with Andrew Garfield by now. And then did you see that YouTube video of him, the Cobra Kai cast giving him a call out because he's a huge fan and he couldn't believe it? That was so great. It was
so touching watching that too, and saying and him saying like, "Oh, this is like one of the greatest moments of my life." And it's
sadly.
Yeah, exactly. And there was another article I read earlier today too, where he auditioned for Prince Caspian in the Chronicles of Narnia movies, and they told him apparently he wasn't good looking enough.
Oh, come on.
To play the role. So he could have been Prince Caspian, but he wasn't.
Well, those movies kind of fizzled out anyway.
Right? He made the he made the better choice in not taking them. Cool. So that was fun doing the movies. There's a lot of great ones in there, and I added even more to my list that I need to watch.
Cool. Me too. Yep.
So we're going to take a break real quick. And then when we come back, we're going to dive into our favorite television of the year. So stick around and we'll be right back. This episode of Wilhelm is brought to you in part by Entertainment Earth. If you are a fan of pop culture collectibles just like I am, Entertainment Earth is your one-stop shop for everything you need, with toys, collectibles, and apparel from so many franchises like Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Transformers, Back to the Future, one of my favorites, and more, made from manufacturers such as Funko, Lego, Hasbro, and Mattel, just to name a few. I guarantee you will find something that will fill that collectible void, including many things you can't even find in stores. And best of all, Entertainment Earth offers the option to pre-order any of their upcoming new items at no money down, meaning you don't pay until it ships. How awesome is that? So check out their site, do some shopping, and help support Wilhelm by using the link in the show notes of this episode to browse the site. Entertainment Earth, great collectibles at great ease. We are back, and we're going to jump right into the television side of things and reveal some of our top 5 favorite TV series of 2021. As I mentioned at the top of the show, these aren't shows that necessarily debuted in 2021. These are just shows that we just really enjoyed watching.
These episodes debuted in 2021. Yes.
Yeah. They had episodes. It aired in 2021. That's all that matters. Although I think... Yeah, actually, 3 of mine actually did debut in 2021. So it just happened to be a happy coincidence. Yeah. Cool. So let's jump right into it, and we'll do our top 5, and then we'll throw out some honorable mentions there as well. This is going to be interesting because I really don't know where you fall with this one.
Yeah,
movies.
same.
I had a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
This is
that Spider-Man one I kind of thought was going to be both of our top picks.
It was pretty clearly given at that point. But yeah, I'm really curious where this is going to fall. So number 5.
My number 5 is Netflix's Lock and Key.
I still need to watch it.
Oh, you haven't even seen it at all?
No. I mean, you could talk about it. It's totally fine. It's funny. Because not to jump on your point, but there's a couple shows that I'm like, I need to watch, and I'm putting them in. Like Yellow Jackets is one, Lock and Key is one, The Witcher is one, and Ozark is another one. And I'm like, okay, these are the 4 series I'm going to focus on. I've got to get through these series.
Once we're done with our lists, I will give you my opinion for whatever it's worth on what order you should watch those.
Okay, that sounds good.
Lock and Key is about this family in this old house full of magic keys that do really interesting things. Like there's one called the Hercules Key, where if you plug it into a belt that you're wearing, you're super strong. There's one called the Anywhere Key, where if you plug it into a door and you're thinking of a place you've been or you can see a picture of, when you open the door, it will lead to that place. Or I'll do one more. There's one called the Dollhouse Key, where there's a replica of the house that they're in somewhere else, and you open it with the Dollhouse Key and you can look inside and see tiny versions of the people who are in the house. And you can like stick your hand in and grab them or whatever.
This sounds amazing. Like I feel like I need these keys.
Yeah, it's really, really fun to just because, Rima and Paik and I podcast about it, and we talk about what we would do if we had the keys or what kind of keys we wish they had. It's kind of feels like a bit of a teen drama, but it's really breezy and fun. But also it's dark with people die and there's demons and things like that. It's based on a comic by Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son, that was actually much more a horror comic, and this is a bit more on the fantasy side with the show, but it's really fun, and I have a real soft spot for it. It's great.
Yeah, it's one I know you guys like. I listen to a lot of the coverage that you and Paik and Rima and all the other people that podcast on Podcastica, and I feel bad that I don't get to listen to those episodes because I haven't watched the show yet. But it is now on my list, and I know it's 2 seasons, right?
They just wrapped season 2, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
2 seasons.
I will have
and
to make
season
sure
3 has been filmed, but we don't know when it's coming out.
Okay. Netflix is really on the ball, man. Like they're getting ahead with some of the shows.
Well, they
make us wait.
I know. Just put the other one out. But I suspect they filmed 2 and 3 back to back because there's a young kid on there and they don't want a big growth spurt when they're not ready to do a time jump yet.
Makes sense. Cool. Yeah, that's one I'm definitely gonna have that I have to is on my list to watch. So my number 5 is a show that debuted in 2021. My number 5 is Only Murders in the Building.
Nice. I still didn't get to finish that. I need to go back and
it was 10 episodes. It was a Hulu exclusive series, and you and I did the episode of Wilhelm on Steve Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Short, Selena Gomez, Amy Ryan. It's one of
great
those
comedy team. Martin Short, Stephen Martin, and Selena
and Selena
Steve
Gomez.
Martin and Selena Gomez.
But apparently, from what I've read and like interviews I've seen, like even including from Steve Martin and Martin Short themselves, they say like she can hold her own. Like
that was clear on screen to me.
Yeah.
She was really fun. She kind of vibes older woman, like older than her age.
Yeah. But I mean, like you had Nathan Lane make special appearances, Jimmy Fallon, Tina Fey, like they've pulled friends in to this season. And I know season 2 is already filming.
Oh, cool.
And I think debuts later on this year. So I'm really excited for what that brings. And I'm really excited. And I won't spoil the way it ends since you haven't finished it. But
thank you.
The way the season ends, I'm like, yeah, like where are they going to go with season 2? Like I really, really can't wait. But Steve Martin and Martin Short, I mean, like that's a legendary comedic team right there.
Yeah. And I was glad that Martin Short kind of toned it down a little bit. It was good. I enjoyed it.
They both kind of toned it down a little bit, although there are a couple moments in the series where it's like, all right, like I get it, like this is total slapstick, and I love it and I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, it's fun.
So you need to finish it though.
I know
it's a great conclusion to the series.
Cool.
So number 4.
My number 4 is an HBO show. It's they thought it was only going to be one season, but now they're doing a season 2 called White Lotus.
I just saw the announcement for one of the castings.
Yeah,
for White
Aubrey
Lotus.
Plaza.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
I know. I loved her in Legion, especially, but Parks and Rec and just
Legion,
her.
Parks and Rec, Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah,
she's
right.
so good.
So this first season, it was HBO was like, talked to one of their writers named Mike White, and they're like, we need a show quick that can be all filmed, that can be written in a few months and all filmed in one location because of COVID. So he came up with this satirical look at people who come to this posh Hawaiian resort, and it's all about people who are well off and how shittily they treat the people who serve them with being kind of clueless about it. Entitlement and privilege and stuff like that. But what really got me is it's black humor and it's funny as hell. And it just, the craziness and the conflict and everything going on kind of ramps up as the season goes along. I actually watched it twice. I really, really dug it.
How many episodes is the season? 6.
So it's pretty quick.
That's an easy knockout.
Yeah, and it has this weird fluttery music throughout. It goes like whoa, and you would think it would be overwhelming, but it strangely worked for the show. I'm not sure whether you would be into this or not, but it'd be worth a shot.
I might give it a shot. I mean, anybody notable in the cast of the first season or
Jennifer Coolidge?
Okay,
and this guy Murray Bartlett I hadn't seen him before, but he was the standout character. He's like the maitre d' at the hotel, and he's phenomenal. And then there's what the hell was this one girl in? Oh, you didn't see Handmaid's Tale. There's an actor from Handmaid's Tale in it, but it was a great cast. Oh yeah, and Connie Britton from Friday Night Lights and American Horror Story. She was in it. They were all really good.
I might have to add it to my list and see if I can squeeze it in. 6 episodes should be easy to knock out.
Yeah, and I think you would know, well,
maybe by the first one or two.
Maybe by the first one or two, but it definitely does ramp up as it goes along. But yeah, I would say if you're not into it after the first one, then maybe not.
Okay. So my number 4 is a show I think you watch because I think we've talked about it before, but I've just adored this show. And number 4 is Mythic Quest.
Yeah, that's
which
good.
Is an Apple Plus series with Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny, and a lot of the Always Sunny writers are on it too. But it's not
Charlie
Always
Day
Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right.
Yeah, Charlie Day is a writer as well, but it's not Always Sunny. I mean, I want to make that clear. Like, it is not Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's definitely a lot of shared humor that you can see, but it's not as raunchy. It's not as.
It's like office politics, a lot of status and stuff like that,
For anybody that doesn't know, it's basically about Rob McElhenney plays the owner of a video game design company, and it's basically him and his staff working on keeping their game afloat, and the designs with like expansions and everything,
and struggling to see whose ideas went out and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I know, I think it's Bethesda. I might be wrong on the game company, but there is a game company behind it, like that they visited
to do all the graphics
to
and
do
everything.
the research. Yeah, and it's
right. I mean, I read him talking about it, like people would say to him, I would check out your show, but I'm not into video games. And he said, do you like The Office? And they'd be like, oh yeah. And he's like, are you into paper? Because that's what they make on The Office.
That's brilliant. That's actually brilliant. But one of the things I really love about the show is I think it really highlights that Rob McElhenney is a very underutilized actor.
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been some episodes where he just stands out incredibly. And I don't know if it's one of the ones that you've seen too, but like I know the first season came out before the pandemic. And then actually I think it hit right as the pandemic started. And they released in between seasons 1 and season 2, they released a quarantine episode dealing with all of these characters being at home quarantined. And I'll be honest with you, it brought me to tears. It is incredibly moving, and it is easily one of the. I know a number of shows did quarantine, quote unquote quarantine episodes, like pandemic episodes. Parks and Rec did a special. I know a number of other shows did it too. It is easily the greatest thing that came out of the pandemic.
Oh wow!
I don't know.
No, I didn't. I've seen the first season, and I didn't. I got to catch up though.
They did 2 standalone episodes between seasons 1 and seasons 2. They did Quarantine, which was episode 10 of the first season, and then they did another one called Everlight, which was a LARPing episode, which was also amazing. It was all the cast of them like doing this yearly LARP celebration they do in the studio. But what was cool about that one was that as they're telling the story of their characters, they actually make it look like they've actually become these characters, like they kind of transform it into an actual fantasy episode. It's so well done. But that quarantine episode, man, I highly recommend to anybody who's a fan of the show if they haven't seen it.
Awesome.
It was so good. Number 3.
Number 3, it's Netflix most watched series ever, Squid Games.
That's in my honorable mentions, and it was tough to not put it in my top 5.
I mean, I watched that so if people who don't know, it's this weird organization gathers all these people who are deeply in debt to play a game where they could possibly win money, and only after it's the first game is like red light, green light. Yeah. And only after that game is it revealed that if you lose, you get shot right in the head. And that's like the end of the first episode. I'm kind of spoiling it, but that was so dark that I was sort of like, wow, man, that might be too dark for me. But there was so much buzz around it that I'm like, all right, let me just keep going and see. And I realized it's funny. It's got heart. It's very well made, the filming, that it's smart. And also it just talks about the human condition and, the social commentary and how it has like the darkest depravity, but also heart and courage and compassion. And so by the end of it, even though it is throughout the whole thing, really freaking dark, I loved it a lot.
I was with you on that. The only reason I watched it was because of the hype behind it. Like I hadn't watched it when it debuted, but so many other people had. All these other people were saying like how great it was, and I was like, all right, like and then I kept seeing it nodded on like late night talk shows, like in all these other pop culture arenas. I'm like, okay,
Squid Games.
All right, I'll give it a shot. Like SNL was doing bits on it, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And then I was the same way. I was like, okay, I'm kind of hooked on this now. But I will say, there is an episode of that show that has broken me more than any other show ever has. And the ending of that episode broke me so hard that I think, like, usually, like if there's a series that hits me or a movie that hits me, I can kind of like breathe a little bit and recover from it. I remember I still had like 1 or 2 episodes left because it's in the second half of the season. And I got to the end of that episode and I legit just stood up and walked to the other side of my apartment away from
the TV.
From the TV. And I cried.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know what to think. Like, I think I am honestly emotionally broken right now.
Wow.
I don't know how to react. And the only reaction I had was to cry. And then I got on a Zoom call to record an episode. I think it was an episode of Wilhelm. And then I did the episode of Wilhelm, and then I can't.
It's time to talk about top 5 comedies.
Yeah. And I can't remember. I had to record something immediately afterwards, and I couldn't think.
Oh,
and
man.
then when I was
rough.
recording, I went back and I finished the season. I'm
Right.
like, I gotta finish.
I'm sure there's some people hearing what you just said that are more intrigued by the show now because of that.
Man, yeah, that show had an episode that broke me more than any other show ever has.
I mean, I don't tend to like. I don't know. Maybe like I just feel like I don't want to see horror movies that are torture porn, you know, for a lack of a better word. Like I watched Human Centipede, and I'm like, why did I watch that? I'm definitely not watching the sequels. And I thought Squid Games was going to be like that, but the more I got into it, the more I just feel like, this is a work of art.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredibly well done, and I don't think they've officially announced the season 2. I think they've discussed it.
He said he's going to do it, but I don't know if that's official. Yeah,
and I don't know where they're going to go with it. That's
right.
My biggest question.
Well, there were a few loose ends at the end.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it
what's
won't
the
be
core
as big,
of the?
Yeah, it won't be as big of like a shock or a surprise to do this, to repeat the format.
I know.
Like you would have to change it.
Yeah, I feel like maybe a season 2 could just be like the sophomore slump kind of thing and not work really well, but we'll see.
Yeah, if they do it. Mm-hmm. So for my number 3, I went with another Disney Plus series. It is one that I was highly anticipating, and it blew me away. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. I went with Hawkeye.
I haven't watched that yet.
Oh, you really?
I'm going to. Yeah.
Okay. I'd be curious to know your thoughts when you finally get through it. It's only 6 episodes, so it's an easy watch. But I'm a big fan. I was a huge fan of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was a fan of Loki and What If. And I was like, okay, like Hawkeye's getting his own series. That's great. They're introducing Kate Bishop. This is awesome. And I just remember by like the 2nd or 3rd episode, just thinking, I'm like, this is fantastic. It's grounded. It shows humanity. Like it's humanizing. Like it's not a typical. It's not like any of the, like this guy doesn't have like a steel arm. He doesn't have wings. Like he doesn't have any superpowers. He's just highly skilled. So, and it's not really a spoiler for it, but it really shows a big focus on this guy who is purely just a human, just a highly skilled human suffering from PTSD, from the loss of his best friend, from saving the world, from the battle in New York. Like it deals with so many human elements that I was blown away by this series. And I said, I think by episode 3, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be my favorite of the Marvel series. And
that's cool.
By the end of it, I was like, yep, this is my favorite of the Marvel series.
That does sound good. Like one thing I really liked about Legion, which is probably my favorite superhero TV show, is they dealt like real human beings would at just about having powers, you know, like just talking about real world implications of that, or just real conversations that people would have about it. So hearing that Hawkeye is kind of impacted by all the stuff that he's been through, like a real person would be, sounds good.
Yeah. There's some great new characters introduced. Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop is fantastic. Like she's
I've heard,
perfect.
yeah.
She's the perfect Kate Bishop. I
like the series too, by the way, that's based on Matt Fraction.
Yeah, the Matt Fraction series. Yeah, it's I mean, and there's definitely some twists. There's, you know, they build up these characters. I don't want to say too much.
I got spoiled on one big one.
Oh, on a character that comes
on a
in,
big one, yeah.
On a big one, yeah. But if you or when you watch it, I'd be curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to, because it's the only one I haven't seen yet. I've just been super busy with all these podcasts and everything.
I get it. Totally get it. Number 2.
Number 2, Cobra Kai.
I'm surprised it's not your number 1.
It was close.
Actually, I think I know what your number 1 is too.
You know.
But okay, I'm surprised it's not your number 1.
I mean, I don't know. I could easily switch my top 2, but
I know we can't say too much on it because you're still podcasting on Cobra Kai season 4 right now.
That's right.
And you don't
probably
watch,
everyone hearing knows more than I do.
Yeah, and you don't watch past the episodes you record on.
Right.
I've
seen up through episode 6.
Yes. Although you haven't recorded on 5 and 6.
5 and 6, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, right after we finished recording, I immediately watched the next 2.
I don't blame you at all. It's an amazing series.
Yeah, it's crazy because I am a huge Karate Kid fan. My friends knew for years that was my favorite movie. And when I heard that they were going to make a series out of it, I thought that's probably going to suck. But I'm going to watch it anyway because it's Karate Kid, and I watched it and I was just shocked at how great it is. And it's not just the nostalgia, but it's really smart, and it remixes and recontextualizes all the bits from Karate Kid. But I also love that it's about surrogate fathers, just like Miyagi was, and in all these different ways, some bad influences and some good, but it's a lot of gray area stuff. And also it's about getting us to see different perspectives, like Karate Kid was just black and white, bad and good, but here it humanizes everybody, but they also all have flaws. I just think it's so smart the way it does all that.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the things I love about you guys covering it on House Podcastica too is like your coverage is fantastic. So anybody that's we'll plug it at the end of the episode, obviously. But yeah, anybody who's a fan of Cobra Kai who watches it, like I highly recommend you and Rima and Rich and your episodes on the coverage, because I'm even listening. I listen to them, and it's so fun. I was telling you this the other day. It's so fun listening and not being able to say about what you're right and what you're wrong about. And because I know, like, I watched the entire season. Because I don't have to stop.
I know.
The only downside is that I can't leave feedback or be a guest on the podcast because I don't want to risk giving away spoilers. But as I told you, once you get to episodes 9 and 10, you will definitely get feedback.
I'm looking forward to it
from me. But yeah, I don't know if I was with you on the thinking it was going to suck. I think I remember seeing the trailer because it originally debuted on YouTube Red, and then season 2 moved. Was it season 2 or season 3 when it moved to Netflix? I think it was season 2.
No,
or was it 3?
I think it was 3.
So I think you're right. I think 1 and 2 were on YouTube Red.
Yeah,
and then 3 was picked up by Netflix. Yeah. But yeah, like I think I remember seeing the trailer, and I had YouTube Red at the time, and I was like, I'm absolutely going to check this out.
Well, I heard about it before I saw any trailer, and that's when I was like, really? But then when I started seeing the stuff come out, I'm like, ooh, it actually looks like it might be pretty good.
And I get so excited, like even like going back to season 3, because I can't say much about season 4. I cheer at my TV when I watch it. Like I get pumped up. The way that season 3 ended, like I was so excited for season 4. I was like, I need season 4 right now.
Just like with Lock and Key, they've already filmed season 5. They wrapped filming like last week or something, and they just came out 4, but 5 is in the can. And I thought that was awesome. But the writers are saying, yeah, we have more story beyond that. And there's a part of me that's like, don't wear it too thin. And so far they've been so good, amazingly so, at just keeping it fresh. But I am worried about it overstaying its welcome.
Well, I can tell you this, and then I'll move on after this. The way season 3 ended, I was like, that was amazing. I don't know if it can get better than this. And season 4 ended, I was like, yep, it got better. It got better.
Great. That's cool.
So,
I mean, yeah. So it is weird that it's only number 2 on my list, because I do feel like it's my favorite show to podcast on that I've ever podcasted on. And I've podcasted on a lot of shows.
And you can tell when you listen
really
to your
fun.
coverage that you genuinely love the property. I mean, that shines through every episode that you guys do. All 3 of you. Like, you can tell how much you love the property. And I honestly think that even if you're just a meh like mediocre fan of the Karate Kid movies, but you haven't seen Cobra Kai, I think it will make you love and appreciate the Karate Kid movies even more.
I mean, Rima, one of our co-hosts, wasn't that into Karate Kid. I don't know if it made her appreciate Karate Kid more or not, but she definitely loves Cobra Kai.
Yeah. It's so good and well deserving of a top 2 spot. My number 2 is a show that debuted very early on, January of 2021, and is returning for its second season, I think this week or next week. My number 2 is Resident Alien.
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm so curious.
With Alan Tudyk. I remember seeing the trailers for this. It's a sci-fi show on Sci-Fi Network. And I just remember seeing the trailers for it and being, okay, I love Alan Tudyk. I'm glad he's getting like a starring role finally. Like he's getting the lead in a series. And I watched the trailer. I'm like, that seems intriguing. It seems like it works well for him. I'm going to check it out. And I think even in the pilot, I laughed so hard at so many scenes. Like I could not catch my breath. The show
was that season 1 this year?
Season 1 was January of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've only done one season.
They've only done one season. Okay. Season 2 debuts, I think, either this week or next week.
Cool.
And I'm so excited because this is a role he was absolutely meant for.
I gotta watch this one.
If you're not familiar, it's he's an alien that crash lands on Earth, who takes the identity of a small town doctor in Colorado to kind of put himself into the human element and kind of get familiar with being a human, and it's a very small town, so he's able to do it without attracting too much attention. But the hilarity of him learning elements of humanity and not only that, but being a doctor at the same time and learning about human anatomy, and some of the best scenes are him and his bedside manner, in which he has none. It's so damn funny. Like I have laughed so hard at this show that I cannot wait for season 2.
I can totally picture him playing that because he kind of seems like that normally. A little bit.
He seems like an alien in disguise.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I mean. Like this seems like this was a role that was meant for him.
Is he part of the creative team or anything?
I don't think so. Chris Sheridan is the creator of the show. Chris Sheridan worked on, let's see, he's a Family Guy writer. Actually, he hasn't done a lot. Titus back in early 2000s. He's been a writer on Titus and Family Guy. That's it. So
got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, this is a good way to do it. Highly recommend this show to anybody who just wants to laugh. It's so damn good.
Cool.
So that brings us to our number 1s. I have a feeling I already know what yours is, but go ahead and say it.
You kind of made me feel guilty. Like I was thinking of that meme where you see the guy walking with his girlfriend looking over his shoulder at the other girl. And his girlfriend's pissed off.
And he's looking over
just
at Cobra
she's
Kai
new.
or at your number 1.
I'm looking over at my number 1. And they're both good looking, but maybe this one's just new. So it's got this novel quality to it. But anyway, it's Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
And Daphne, our friend Daphne, was like, have you guys seen Yellow Jackets? And I'm like, there's a new show every day. I can't keep up. And no, seriously. And then more people started, all right, I'll check it out. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. So I'm going to read the premise because that's the easiest way to say what it's about. In 1996, a team of New Jersey high school soccer players, all women, by the way, girls, travels to Seattle for a national tournament. While flying over Canada, their plane crashes deep in the wilderness, and the remaining team members are left to survive for 19 months. The series chronicles their descent into madness and cannibalism while also tracking their current lives in 2021.
It's on my list. As I mentioned, there are 4 shows that I want to knock out. Yellow Jackets, mainly because everybody in our group of friends is like, you need to watch Yellow Jackets. And it's almost become like a cult. like you pull one person in and now that person's like, you
it's like
need
a virus.
to watch Yellow Jackets. It's like a
What were the
pyramid
other
scheme
ones?
of television. The Witcher, Yellow Jackets, Lock and Key, and Ozark.
Lock and Key. And
I'm
Ozark.
waiting till next week to start Yellow Jackets because that's the season finale. So I want to be able to just knock out the entire series and not have to wait.
It's got Juliette Lewis, Christina Ricci, and Melanie Linsky, and then a great cast of young people playing them as teens. It's got black humor. People like to say it's a mix of shows: Lost, Alive, Lord of the Flies. I feel like it's got some Mean Girls and even some sort of Melrose Place elements in there. But it's a lot like Lost in that there's two big things that make it like Lost. One is that they're stranded in one time frame and home in the other, but it's reversed because here they're stranded in the past and home in the present versus Lost. But also there's a lot of mystery and there's a lot of red herrings and misdirection, and that's one reason why it's like a virus, because everybody's trying to figure all these little details of who did what and who's doing what to who and why this is happening. And there's theories online and stuff like that. A lot of discussion. So it's like Lost. I feel like that's why we started podcasting about this, because I'm like, just like Lost, this is a show that cries out for a podcast to talk about all that stuff and get the listener feedback and everything.
Yeah. I think that was the moment when I realized I'm like, okay, this show must be good, because all of a sudden, like the show was already 5 episodes into its 10 episode season. And all of a sudden it's like, we're podcasting about it. It's like, what? The show is already halfway through.
I know, because everybody was, and I'm like, yeah, it is good, but they're already halfway through. And I just felt like if I don't jump on this, someone else is going to. So let's do it. So we did an episode catching up the first 5, and then I've been doing episode by episode since.
Yeah. I keep hearing great things from a number of different people. So I'm just waiting for this. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the season to end, and then I'm going to knock it out. And
I mean, if you're like me, when things get too hyped, then you don't think they're as good. So I'll just tell you it's not very good.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Now I really want to watch it. It's on my list though. So cool. Same with like I said, I mentioned Ozark is also one of those 4 shows, but Ozark I think is one of those ones I'm going to wait because the last season hasn't started yet.
I think they decided to break that up into 2.
That's what I heard as well. Yeah. So I might just wait until the second half and then just knock everything.
It's a great show though. Jason Bateman kills it, and Laura Linney too.
I love Jason Bateman. Like I've been a fan.
He's one of my favorites.
I don't know. This is promoting another podcast, but I don't know if you've ever listened to Smartless.
Yes.
It's so
with
damn
Will,
funny.
What's his name?
Will Arnett and Sean Hayes. That podcast is so damn funny. I listen to an episode of that every day, and I only have a couple left before I'm completely caught up. And I'm actually going to be depressed when I'm caught up.
I saw that they were doing that, and I'm like, oh great! Like when guys like this are doing that, where does that leave us?
but it's such a fun premise.
Great. No, I love it.
That only one of them knows who the guest is, and the other 2 have no idea.
It's always some big like J.J. Abrams or somebody.
But it's always fun too to hear their introductions, because their introductions are so misleading of the character of the guest who they're bringing on. Anyway, getting off topic.
Top podcasts.
Top podcast. So that leads to my number 1, and I think anybody who knows me, I don't think this is too big of a surprise. My number 1 is Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah.
It is, quite honestly, it's not just one of my favorite shows of 2021. I think it might be one of my favorite shows of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jason Sudeikis is just so wonderful in this show. And he's got a heart of gold. He's kind of out of place being over in the UK, being a soccer football coach rather than American football coach. I know some people weren't crazy about the second season because it started diving into like panic attacks, and they felt it kind of took away from what the first season was all about. But I think all that did was just add more character.
I loved it.
I did too.
It kind of veered into, oh wait, what is this show?
Like,
which is kind of like, what were we saying that about? Like Last Night in Soho? Like, wait, what am I watching here?
Yeah, like it showed that like he's not this perfect person. He's got issues just like everybody else.
Kind of dark even at times.
Yeah, and I was like I was actually really enjoying it. It is a show that makes me laugh so much. It has made me cry more times than not. And I honestly, I think in our group of friends, when we had our Hershey trip, was probably one of the most quoted television shows of the entire.
Ted Lasso was big in the group consciousness. Right there.
Yeah, we were quoting it, we were watching it, and it's just, I honestly think it might be one of my favorite shows I've ever watched.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's in my honorable mentions for this year, and yeah, I really like it too. And I heard that they might just do one more season.
That's what I heard too. I think they might do 3 seasons and then wrap it at 3, which will make me sad.
Yeah.
But if they go out on a high,
if that's what they feel, then I respect that.
Yeah. But all I know is that Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec used to be my spirit guide. It is now Roy Kent. is my new spirit guide. Brett Goldstein is so good in that role, and the story behind how he got that role, I don't know if you've heard it.
Mm-mm.
Brett Goldstein is a writer. He was hired as a writer for Ted Lasso.
Oh,
and when they were creating the characters, and
he was like doing the voice and stuff.
He did, like he was writing for Roy. And he saw so much of that character in himself that he was like, I think I could play this part.
Mm-hmm.
So he filmed an audition tape and he sent it to the producers of the show and said, hey, I know you guys are still casting, but I just kind of want to throw my hat into the ring.
Nice.
And the producers contacted him and said, yeah, you know what? We don't need to look for anybody else. And they gave him the part.
That's great. Well, they did the right thing.
Right?
Yeah.
He's one of the best characters in that show besides Ted himself and Coach Beard.
Well, I love all of them. Hannah Waddington.
Hannah Waddington is amazing.
Really cool. And even the guy that plays the guy we all hate now, he does a great job.
Oh, Nate. Yeah.
I mean, I always like to give the actors props who play the bad guys, because that's a thankless job sometimes, but I think he's great on there.
Juno Temple is amazing as Keeley, like Phil Dunster as Jamie Tart. Like it's an amazing cast, and it's so well done. Yeah, so well done. It's so good. Ted Lasso's was my number one. That was
a good one.
All right, let's knock out some honorable mentions, then we can throw in what we're kind of looking forward to for the new year before we get out of here. What's another one of your honorable mentions?
Mike Flanagan's latest Netflix show, Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass is also in my honorable mentions. So good.
I don't know if I want to say that's my favorite of his, because he also did A Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, but it definitely, I like some things about it better than best of all his stuff.
That was one of those ones that I was very hesitant to watch because I'm not a religious person, and I know there are some highly religious undertones in that show. And then I remember watching like the first 2 or 3 episodes and being like, okay, I kind of like what they're doing with religion here. And then when it was revealed what the show actually was,
right,
it slapped me in the face. And I was like, yeah, this is a huge twist.
I felt exactly the same.
Yeah.
I was like, where is this going? Because I don't want to be preached to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's not, I wouldn't say it's anti-religion, but it's definitely anti-religious extremism.
Well, I mean, like there are characters in that show that are portrayed so well because like I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, these people are the reason why I'm not religious.
Yeah.
But then there are also characters in there that are suffering from crisis of faith. And like they show all the elements incredibly well. And then they throw that twist into the show that I was like, 1, didn't see that coming. 2,
they kept it a secret.
That is a whole new twist I've never seen before.
Yeah. And done really well.
Yeah.
And Paik and Rima's podcast just elevated it even more. Strange Indeed. They really did a great job with that show, and they're doing a great job with Dexter now. I'm really impressed.
Speaking of Dexter, that's actually one of my honorable mentions is Dexter New Blood. The series just wrapped. Yep. I won't say anything to anybody who hasn't seen it yet because it is very, very fresh. How the show ended, but their coverage of that has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
Every time I watch the episode, I can't wait for the podcast to drop so I can listen to it.
I know, because we're recording Lock and Key on one night, and then they would do Dexter the next night. They would record Dexter. And when it came time for us to record for Lock and Key, I'm like, why don't you guys just record Dexter tonight so I can listen to it, and we'll do Lock and Key tomorrow.
But the series itself, I was one of those people that was really disappointed with the way the original series ended.
Yeah, I can't imagine
so
anyone
people.
wasn't.
I think didn't Rima say she was okay with it, or was she with someone who's disappointed with it?
I think she was disappointed with it. I mean, yeah, I think so.
But you know, going into this new series, I remember getting like halfway through and thinking, okay, this has restored my faith in the show, because I was very skeptical. I went into it as a skeptic. By like the 4th or 5th episode, I was like, yep, this show is fantastic. Not only is it good, it's almost season 4 good.
Yeah.
Season 4 is one of the best seasons of not only Dexter, but one of the best seasons of television I've ever watched.
I just love Michael C. Hall in that role so much that even in the later seasons when I didn't think it was very good at all, especially that last season, I still enjoyed watching him play the role. He's just so good as that part. And
I won't ruin anything, but I will say, because the podcast hasn't dropped yet, so I haven't heard their opinions on it yet. At least it hasn't dropped yet by the time we're recording this. I was incredibly content with the way the season ended. I was very, very content.
Yeah, I guess I'm still wrestling with it. I think I am too, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Better than the other ending.
God, yes. So, what's another honorable mention?
Walking Dead World Beyond.
I keep hearing that it got so much better.
It got good. It really did. And especially if you're a Walking Dead fan, it was just kind of, I don't know why, but this word delicious is coming into my mind. Like, oh my God, this is like so fun to watch. And I totally get, like, it started off like a WB teen drama, and the season 1, I think it did get better and better as it went along. But season 2 was just another level above. And I would suggest, if you're a Walking Dead fan and you didn't bother, just watch a recap on YouTube of season 1 and then watch season 2.
I might have to do that.
It's kind of must see, I would say, for Walking Dead fans. I really think it was great.
Okay. Yeah, I was one of those people that I watched it when season 1 aired, and I think I got halfway through the first episode and I was like, nah, this is not getting my attention.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I'm telling you, you're going to thank me if you end up watching season 2.
All right. I'll have to go back and I'll do what you recommend. I'll watch a recap of season 1 and then I'll jump into season 2. We already talked about Cobra Kai, which was in my honorable mentions. But another honorable mention of mine is What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, so good.
It's so good. I honestly don't know. It should have been in my top 5, but there were so many other great shows.
I can't believe I forgot about it, but I love that show.
Yeah, it's another show that just makes me laugh every week. The writing is brilliant. It's so good.
That last episode, I'm like, dude, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, where are you going to go from here?
Hope it's somewhere good. Come on.
So, but it's coming back, and I can't wait for it to come back.
Yeah, that is such a fun show.
It's so.
That's my favorite. Well, Cobra Kai's a comedy, so I like Cobra Kai more. But What We Do in the Shadows is a really good comedy right now.
Yeah,
if you want to
feel
good.
It's so clever.
Mm-hmm. I love how it's kind of racy.
Yeah, and it's like it's not subtle humor. It's definitely not subtle humor, but it's
funny though.
It's funny. It's so damn funny. What's another?
What If?
Yeah,
the Marvel series. I thought as it went along, I'm like, wow, I think this is the animation is gorgeous. I don't know the way, I mean, I always liked the What If comic, and they really just did the Marvel MCU version of that. And I thought did it well. I mean, I wish they could have gotten even more of the actors' voices in there, but I really enjoyed it. In fact, I think it's my favorite of all the Marvel series. Yeah.
It's fair. I mean, it was incredibly well done. I think the animation turned some people off. Some people just weren't used to that style. I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was absolutely fine with it. Yeah, I get that. I have 3 more on my list. I don't know how many.
I got 2 more.
You have two more. Okay, so we just go 1 and 1. This is a show that's in its 3rd season right now, 3rd or 4th season. I actually don't remember. But I've been a fan of it since the beginning, and I still think it's one of the best shows on television. Is New Amsterdam on NBC?
Never heard of it.
I'm not a medical procedural fan. I haven't been since House. But I was a big fan of the actor Tyler Labine from Tucker and Dale versus Evil and Deadbeat, and he always did those like stoner fat guy roles. And I saw him in the trailer and I was like, okay, like this is different. This is a different role for him. Let me check this out. And I was hooked from episode 1. It is an incredibly well done medical procedural based on an actual doctor who wrote a book about it. It's based in New York City. New Amsterdam is actually very loosely based on Bellevue Hospital in New York City.
So is it like a drama?
It's a drama, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it is another show that has left me emotional, like has made me cry. I just think it's incredibly well done.
Cool.
So, what's another?
I think maybe ER was the last hospital drama I really got into. That was such a great show.
Yeah,
it was the number one show for a long time.
Yeah, and I never watched ER. I never watched Grey's Anatomy.
I haven't watched that either.
Yeah. So,
my next one is I got 2 more. WandaVision, which I really loved. It was so unique, the way they aped the sitcoms of the different decades, and I loved how they tied that into Wanda's story. And my wife Jenny went to Yale with the director of all of those episodes and helped him do plays. She like decorated the sets of the plays he was directing, but that kind of made me like it a little bit more, knowing that one of her classmates was a big success with this.
I love the connections that you have. It was funny because I watched Hawkeye with my mom, and I bragged a little bit. I was like, you know my friend Jason, right? He went to high school with Jeremy Renner.
Seems like I just make all this stuff up, but it's true. Because I don't know if I've told you this, but I probably haven't said it on Wilhelm, but during our 10-year reunion, Jeremy Renner was like telling people, hey, I'm getting some commercials and stuff. And we're like, okay, Jeremy, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then on our 20-year reunion, Hurt Locker had just come out, and he waltzes in with a bunch of women, and they were surrounding him the whole night. And then it was, I think it had just been announced that he was going to be Hawkeye. Yeah. We're
and
like,
everybody
okay, Jeremy, you were right.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Touché.
But what I really liked about WandaVision too was I agree, like it was incredibly clever about how they took all these television tropes and incorporated it into telling it a story about a Marvel character. But at the same time, it wasn't just this story of this Marvel character. It was also the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
At the same time, which I think was incredibly well written.
It really wasn't, how a lot of that was just under the surface sometimes, like a Twilight Zone story or something. But he did such a good job of mimicking the style. And I got a new appreciation for Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah. She was so phenomenal in that, and acting like Dick Van Dyke's, Mary Tyler Moore in the first episode. And she just did such a great job.
I think like Julie Bowen from Modern Family. Yeah, and she mimicked all those different characters incredibly well.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's a great series. Another one of mine. This is another network show, but I'm a huge fan of it. The Rookie on ABC. This is a show that's in its 3rd season. This is a cop procedural, but it's headlined by Nathan Fillion, who I am a huge fan of. Yeah. This is basically a series where he is an older gentleman, like in his late 40s, like mid to late 40s, and decides to go for a life change and become a police officer in LA. Wow. And it's about like him going through all that and being the rookie, what
was he doing before that?
He was a carpenter.
Wow.
Yeah, he built homes, like he built his own home, and I think like he goes through like a divorce, and it just causes him, or no, I think there's something, if I remember correctly, because it's going back to the beginning of the season, but I think he was divorced from his wife. He was going through a phase in his life where he didn't know what he wanted to do anymore. And then I think he's in a bank when he witnesses a robbery, and I think he actually assists in stopping it. And that makes him take the life choice that, okay, I want to go into law enforcement.
Right. I love that. I got to do more of that.
And it's just, It's
cool. I like him a lot too.
It's a fun and it's a great show. It's super well done, and I like it for the same reason I like New Amsterdam, is that you see elements of medical procedural in New Amsterdam and cop procedural in The Rookie that you don't see in other series. Like, for example, just an example from The Rookie, anytime you see, and I know this from being part of a law enforcement family because my father was in law enforcement, his brother was in law enforcement, his father was in law enforcement. So I didn't go that path. I almost did. And I went a different path instead. But like there's an episode where he's in a cop related shooting, like he shoots one of the suspects that he's chasing. Any other cop procedural that you see, it's okay, business as usual. I shot the guy, business as usual. But as somebody who knows about how law enforcement works, there are, even if you are completely 100% in the right, there are investigations that follow. Like, you are not allowed back on the street until that investigation completes. And The Rookie did that. Like, it was the first time as a rookie cop he ever had to shoot somebody. And they did all of that. They showed the investigation that goes behind it, his fear that even though he was in the right, is it going to be seen that way? Sure. It's incredible.
Did he question himself at all?
Yeah, and that's part of it. Like, he questions himself.
Sounds really grounded, which is pretty cool. Interesting.
It is. But it's also got that Phillian humor.
Right.
Too, because he's just that guy.
Yeah. You got to have that.
Yeah.
I got to get it out of my head every time I think of him. God damn it, Firefly. That's not fair to him.
I swear by my pretty floral bonnet. But that's still a great show.
Yep.
What's another one on your list?
My last one is Ted Lasso, which we've already talked about. Which brings me to my last one, too. This one's on my list more of a personal reason because it highlights a memory from this year that I have. It's going to sound weird, but one of my honorable mentions is Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Oh, man, that's a great show.
I love the show. I've loved it since the beginning.
Brilliant.
The writing is brilliant. He is an amazing host.
Funny as hell.
But the memory that I have from this show this year is I actually got to go to New York City to go to the season finale. I got to be in the audience for the season finale, which was fantastic. So
have they aired that? I haven't been keeping up.
They air that night.
Was there? Oh, okay. Was there a big to do at the end?
There was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He does something big in all of his finales.
Yeah,
so of course, when I got the tickets and my buddy Josh accepted my invite to come with me, the whole time we're on the train, we're like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? What's he going to do? And of course, he goes big in his finale like he always does.
Go check it out.
So such a great, cool opportunity. I've been to Fallon now. I've been to Last Week Tonight. And it's just, I think Colbert's my next one to go for.
Man, you got me beat. I only went to Arsenio.
You also went to Talking Dead too, though. Did you?
No, I never went to Talking Dead.
I thought you were. I thought you went to an episode of Talking Dead.
No, we went to a season premiere event or something that was outdoors. But no, I never been. I never did go to Talking Dead.
Maybe that's where I was.
Yeah, maybe that's where. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Anyway, that's really cool. Yeah. I'm sad I missed Letterman. I'm on the West Coast, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's one of the reasons I got to do Fallon and I got to do Last Week Tonight, and Colbert's next on my list because he's also in New York City. So
he's great too.
And I'm a train ride to New York. All right. So lots of television, lots of movies. Let's do this very quickly because I know we've run a little long and we still have feedback to go through as well. What are we looking forward to in 2022? We can just throw a couple things out there, movies and television wise. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to?
The Flash. DC does the multiverse with Michael Keaton. Looking forward to that. I found out there's a CG Mario movie coming out with Chris Pratt.
Yep.
I'm excited about that because the Mario movie that we did get was not a Mario movie with Bob Hoskins. And my 4-year-old Bodhi is just all about Mario right now. So I can't wait for him to see that. I'm just going to go down my movie list if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm super stoked. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse sequel.
Part one.
Part one. The Batman
On my list.
And Top Gun Maverick.
Which I heard. I listened to Rob Lowe's podcast literally as well, and he just had Kenny Loggins on.
Oh, cool.
And Kenny Loggins said that he got an opportunity to see the movie and says it's phenomenal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I kind of thought it might be good. I mean, we'll see, but if they're going to keep pushing it off, I feel like it's because they think it can draw a big audience if it comes out at the right time. You know what I mean? He said the aerial stunts alone are mind-blowing. That's cool.
So
here's another connection. I used to work for a literary agent, and Kenny Loggins was one of our clients because him and his wife wrote some book.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so I'll run down a couple of the movies on my list too that I'm looking forward to. Uncharted, which I'm really looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to that too, although I feel like I wish we had a young Nathan Fillion.
Right? I'm right there with you. That fan movie that he did, man, was so good.
I mean, even just when I like number 4 was the first one I ever played, and I'm like, that looks just like Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, so good. Jackass Forever, another one I'm really looking forward to. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which we already mentioned. The Batman, which we already mentioned. Speaking of Nicolas Cage, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah.
The movie with him and Pedro Pascal, which I just think looks so good.
Yeah.
Because he's playing himself. I mean, how else could you do
about that one too? You know, one of my favorite movies ever is Adaptation.
It's so good.
He plays Charlie Kaufman and his twin brother. I love that.
It's so good. Jurassic World Dominion, I'm looking forward to. Knives Out 2, which will be a Netflix exclusive.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Daniel Craig is the only returning cast member coming back.
And it's Ryan Johnson doing it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And Netflix has the rights to it, so it'll be a Netflix film. Wow. And Clerks 3, which was already filmed, and I think is pretty close to being done and edited.
Nice. I'll be there for that for sure. I love those movies going back to the 90s.
Yeah, me too. Television, I'll knock out a couple, and then if you have any, you can follow up.
Yep.
The Last of Us, which I know you and I are both looking forward to.
Yes.
The Lord of the Rings, which I know is coming in September. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Obi-Wan, The Sandman, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight are just a couple that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're going to podcast about Last of Us, right?
Yes, we are.
Rima. Yep. On Walking Dead cast. Yeah, that's one I don't know. Is that for sure coming out this year? I think so, right?
The Last of Us?
Yeah, I mean, they've been filming it.
I'm pretty sure it's this year.
Yeah, you'd think so. Better Call Saul. Can't wait to see how that wraps.
I haven't started. I need to start it.
I love that show so much. That show, did you watch Breaking Bad?
Oh, yeah. Loved Breaking Bad.
Better Call Saul starts off really tame, so it's different, but a lot of similarities, but not like the really dark, effed up stuff. But then it gets more like Breaking Bad as it goes along. I love it. Ozark is great. I binged that in time for the last season and then watched those and fell in love with it. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Hopefully The Mandalorian. They haven't really announced whether that's coming out.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it will because they're filming. They finished filming it already. I think She-Hulk too. Me too. I've been when they announced all the Marvel series that they were thinking about doing like 2 years ago, or that they were planning to do. She-Hulk was one of the ones I was excited about.
And She-Hulk was one of those ones where I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. Tatiana Maslany is playing She-Hulk. Okay, I'm in.
I mean, I hope they do what they do with the character in the comics where she breaks the fourth wall, kind of like Deadpool.
Yeah. That'd
cool.
be a lot of fun.
And Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac. That's going to be great. And Lord of the Rings, House of the Dragon.
Oh, I forgot about House of the Dragon.
I didn't have Last of Us down on my list. I can't believe it.
Another Matt Smith.
I want to see him, just being something super successful. So I hope they really...
I'm such a fan of his. I know people lean towards Tenet as Doctor Who, and I do too. But Matt Smith was so good.
He was so good. My most favorite panel ever was with Matt Smith and Arthur Darvill and Karen Gillan.
Nice.
All three of them. And it was at night, packed. We had the big crack of the universe up on a panel behind us, and the audience was on fire, and I had brought them beers in the back, so they were really loosened up, and they did a medley of Bohemian Rhapsody together, singing different parts. And then when it was all over, it was just high energy. And I went back and I saw Matt Smith, and I was like, that was the best panel I ever did. And he just gave me this big old bear hug.
That's awesome. I had an opportunity. Great I met Matt and I met Karen at a Wizard World, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And they were both incredibly nice and just.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of Matt's. I'm glad he's getting more stuff.
Yeah. I wonder, what his role is going to be.
I know you and I are both gamers. Any games you're looking forward to? I know Horizon Forbidden West, I'm really looking forward to.
I didn't play the first one.
God of War Ragnarok, I'm really looking forward to. And I think Breath of the Wild 2, I think we're both really.
Oh yeah,
we're really anticipating.
Absolutely. My son's playing through the first one again right now. Oh God, there was one that I was looking forward to. What the heck is it? I don't know, man. You caught me off guard because I'm not really.
Sorry.
I didn't look at what was coming up, but I swear it felt like there was something. I don't know. I go through gaming phases where I just go all in for a while, but right now I'm into TV more.
I do that too. Like I spent a ton of time in Far Cry 6, and now that I finished it, like I'm like, okay, I need a break.
Yeah.
Like, I need a break from gaming.
And sometimes when I do that, I feel like, I wonder if I'll ever get into games again. And I always do. I have for decades. So I know now I will at some point. But
it's just a matter of when.
That's bugging me though. What else is coming up this year? Evil Dead the game. That's one.
Yeah, that's right. That was supposed to be Christmas last year, and then it got postponed.
And I'm hoping that all of us play that together.
Oh, I'll be playing it. I'll be playing it.
Hold on a second here. I'm going to look at something really quick. Okay. I had a list of... Sorry for the long pause. Okay.
No, go for it.
That's it. Evil Dead the game, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and the Suicide Squad game looks like it might be pretty cool.
Yeah, the Kill the Justice League.
Yeah. Based, from the same team that did the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah. That looks fun. And those Batman Arkham games are great.
Yeah. But Spider-Man is the best superhero game ever.
It's so good, and I'm so disappointed that the second one's not until 2023.
Yeah, because that would definitely be on my list.
Yeah.
With Venom and Kraven.
It's going to be so good. The Miles Morales game was great. The first one was great.
Yep.
Insomniac, man, makes great games. So
I should say amazing. Yeah.
You're amazing, man. You're amazing. Cool. So lots of great stuff that we talked about from 2021 and 2022, but we have some listeners that left some feedback for what they're looking forward to and what some of their favorite stuff was too. Is
this your first time doing listener feedback?
No, the Christmas episode
before,
which was the last episode of the year we did it. So this is the second episode doing feedback. But why don't you start us off? Why don't you start the first feedback?
Okay, the first one's from Rima Joe, my good friend, who says, Spider-Man No Way Home, incredible movie and definitely a top Marvel one for me. The new Bond was pretty great. 2022, Jackass Forever was delayed, and I'm so ready to see my favorite boys together again. Uncharted looks super fun. Love Tom Holland and the video game, and I'm hopeful they do it well. The Lost City looks fun too. The Northman, do I need to elaborate? I don't know what that is.
It is. Oh man, and why is it? Why is his name?
Probably has some like hot actor in it, right?
It's the guy that played Eric Northman from True Blood and was ran the flag in the stand. Yeah. I can't think of his name for it. And Rima's going to kill me because we recorded on the stand.
Yeah, because he's related to Selvig. Who plays Selvig?
Oh my God! It's going to bug me. Yeah, it's going to bug me.
Alexander
Skarsgård. Yeah. Sorry, Rima.
I have a man crush on him too. He's pretty hot. And she goes on, the unbearable weight of massive talent, the one you just mentioned, and Doctor Strange, and hopefully Top Gun if they don't move it again. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, that's some good ones in there.
Yep.
From Daphne Backman, my list of the best: Spider-Man No Way Home, A Quiet Place 2, which I still haven't seen actually. Last Night in Soho, Yellow Jackets, of course, and Snowpiercer. And I also cannot wait for Jurassic World Dominion.
Cool. Snowpiercer's one on my to watch list that I can't believe I haven't gotten to yet.
Mine too. I really enjoyed the movie, but I just haven't gotten into the series yet.
Yeah. And I like Jennifer Connelly too. Damien Vitale says, favorites of 2021, Black Widow, WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I sense a pattern here.
Yeah.
And what if? Haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet, but that would be on there too from what I'm hearing. Well, you heard a lot about it on this.
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't ruin too much.
Yeah. Sticking with Marvel, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and also looking forward to the new Mandalorian season and Obi-Wan series. All good.
I think I just read an article too that Liam Neeson is returning for Obi-Wan as well.
Oh, cool.
As Qui-Gon. So
I am really curious and interested to see what they're going to do with Hayden Christensen.
Me too.
Because I feel like these guys know what they're doing, and so it's not going to be like the prequels again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that as well.
We'll see.
From Kelly Burgess, Hawkeye was definitely one of my top shows. A Quiet Place 2 was great. I might even consider it better than the first one. I loved Eternals, Black Widow, and Spider-Man No Way Home. Sing 2, which actually just came out at the very end of the year, tail end of the year, could be one of my favorite animated movies ever. I loved every moment of it. Oh, all right. I'll have to check that one out. I enjoyed the first one. I'm looking forward to The Secrets of Dumbledore, Doctor Strange, Jurassic World Dominion, and Scream movies. I'm looking forward to and hoping for a great final season of Ozark and The Walking Dead. Also looking forward to Snowpiercer and The Handmaid's Tale.
I actually had meant to mention too, a big TV event this year is going to be the end of The Walking Dead. Yeah. I hate to say I'm looking forward to that. It's more like, oh God, but that's happening.
Well, we're going to make a party out of it. So
that's right. Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. From Karen She says, my favorite films of 2021 were Eternals, Plan B, Spider-Man No Way Home, Mass, Come On, Shang-Chi, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Tick, Tick, Boom, and Summer of Soul. For 2022, I'm looking forward to The Return of the Crown, which I hear a lot about and I'm sure I would love. And Stranger Things on Netflix. Is that coming out this year? I hope so.
I think it's this summer, yeah.
Okay, good. About time. Holding my breath that The Walking Dead has a satisfying end. As for movies, I'm excited for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Pixar's Lightyear. That looks interesting.
Oh, I forgot about Lightyear.
Yeah. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Jordan Peele's Nope, which I had not heard about. But
I have not heard about Nope either, but I like Jordan Peele. Mm-hmm. And as sad as it makes me as sad as it may seem, I'm kind of skeptical about Wakanda Forever now.
I know. Well, with all the drama and stuff.
Yeah, with all the stuff that's come from the set. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I don't know if anybody could ever replace Chadwick. We'll see.
We'll see.
From Derek O'Neill, there was lots of great TV in 2021, so much that there was no way to watch even just the great stuff. I feel it completely.
That is absolutely true.
A couple of my favorites from the year were WandaVision and Hawkeye from Marvel. The Wheel of Time was a great first season. I'm looking forward to I skipped the line. Wheel of Time was a great first season, setting up a big, wide story. That was also fun to podcast on. Mm-hmm. Robert Kirkman's animated Invincible was surprisingly great. I'm looking forward to the next 2 seasons.
True. Very good.
Dexter New Blood was the best spin on an existing series with a perfect, if inevitable, ending. Walking Dead World Beyond was a great addition to the universe and makes me excited for the main show to return again. Last one was Only Murders in the Building, a great fun comedy that made me remember why I love Martin Short and Steve Martin together. Way too many other TV shows to list, let alone movies, so I'm looking forward to hearing Jason and your picks.
Nice. Good ones, man.
Yeah.
Good to hear from Derek. Laura Willie Swink says, I didn't watch a whole lot of new stuff in 2021, but maybe that's a good thing because that meant I enjoyed most everything and wasn't disappointed by much. Best movie of the year, hands down, was Spider-Man No Way Home. Hear, hear. Everything I love about a good Marvel movie. Heart, humor, and tears. Plus, it's Spider-Man, so you gotta love it. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was a raunchy, raucous, and visually stunning good time. A much improved version of its predecessor. Couldn't agree. No, actually, I can't say that because I didn't see the first one. You didn't see it. With a huge twist in the plot that I completely did not see coming. Dune, that's another one worth mentioning. I like that too. Was a beautiful piece of work that needs to be seen in theaters. I'm a longtime fan of the 1984 film, but Denis Villeneuve's version stood up very well on its own, and I'm looking forward to the sequels. On the boob tube, Hawkeye was, as a huge surprise to me, my favorite Disney Plus original of the year. And speaking of Disney, we just recently watched Encanto, and I was appropriately enchanted by it after finding Luca from Pixar to be a bit lackluster.
I didn't see Luca, and now I'm in no rush. But yeah, Encanto,
take that one off your list. Oh, I won't put that one on my list.
But Encanto, I agree, it's so good. Again, cool. Made my top 5. From Steve Brown, there was so much. Ghostbusters Afterlife for sure was a highlight I was not prepared for last year. It hit all the right notes for me, and such a great tribute to Harold Ramis as well. Another huge one was Hawkeye. I did not expect it to be as great as it was. See, you need to watch Hawkeye.
I know. It's getting me excited to get on it.
A lot of people agreeing about Hawkeye.
From Sean Palace, Dune and Ghostbusters for sure.
I didn't watch Dune because I've never seen the original or read the book. So I'm like,
I didn't either, but I was just curious because of how beautiful the trailers looked.
Yeah. Last one from Facebook, from Brian Seidel. Okay, I went and looked at what movies came out in 2021. I missed some of the big ones, including Spider-Man. Every time I look for tickets, it's sold out. I'm sure you could probably find them now, Brian. But top 5, number 1, Titane. 2, Last Night in Soho. 3, Dune. 4, The Green Knight. And 5, Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm not familiar with Titane.
I think he means Titanic. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You're a couple years too late on that one.
Decades too late, yeah.
And Green Knight is on my list to watch too.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious about that one.
I just haven't gotten.
That was one of the ones I was thinking about trying to squeeze in before we.
Me too.
But
yeah,
I watched Last Night in Soho and Pig.
I ended up watching Mass instead of The Green Knight. It was between those two, and I'm actually really glad I watched Mass.
I want to watch that now.
And Karen also said that one in her list as well. So, as well as Tick Tick.
She has good taste in my experience.
Yeah. So I'm. But we first time for the show. We have a voicemail as well, and this comes from our friend Catcraft. So I'll go ahead and I'll play that now.
Hi, Ben and Jason. I'm looking forward to your top picks of 2021, and of course your honorable mentions. But first, Ben, I want to tell you how much I am enjoying Wilhelm.
Yay!
The format, the rotating guests, the conversational style are entertaining and engaging, and I look forward to it every Friday. But with that, I am just calling in to recommend a show from 2021 that I don't think many people are watching, and that would be Station 11. It is an adaptation of a 2014 novel by Emily St. John Mandel by HBO. It's a miniseries, and it is, bear with me, based on what happens after a pandemic. I know, we might all be a little tired of apocalypse, dystopia, and pandemic, but this one is a little different. I've been calling it dystopia with a heart. It doesn't focus on the virus, on anything gruesome and what happened when people died, but it starts with present day, which would be 20 years after the pandemic, and does some really artful flashbacks. It goes back and forth between right after and today. And it focuses on the relationships, the rebuilding, and a little more hope than most do. Don't get me wrong, it has a lot of action, a lot of mystery, and a lot of intrigue. So it has it all, except for the gory, horrible part. Not a lot of that. But I do recommend that people check that out if they haven't.
Oh, it got cut off. But I'll have to.
We got the idea.
Yeah, thanks, Kat, for that, and I'll have to check that out. I'll have to add that to my list.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's been coming up along with Yellow Jackets. In fact, I was trying to tell my friends about Yellow Jackets on another Zoom call, and my other friend says, yeah, I saw it, but Station 11 was better and kind of killed the vibe. I was a little bit bummed by that, but but I do want to see Station 11 because I'm hearing a lot of people say it's great.
Everybody has their own tastes,
yeah,
right or wrong.
Right. That's right.
You know, it is what it is. So we've discussed a lot. Thank you everybody for the amazing feedback. Keep that feedback coming in every week. I know Kat said she looks forward to the show every Friday, but as I mentioned at the end of the year, it's going to be every other Friday now, just to give me and the guests more time to kind of prepare and, get geared up for what we need to watch and such.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, just scheduling wise, it works out so much better.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. But we talked a lot about Podcastica too. Before we get out, there's a lot happening in Podcastica.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, basically I'm on two podcasts, House Podcastica and The Walking Dead Cast. And really it's House Podcastica that's on fire right now. First off, Ben and Greg and Wendy just finished their coverage of the season 1 of the Amazon series, The Wheel of Time, which was really good. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from listeners about that. So that's really cool. And I listened too. I still haven't seen the last episode yet. I need to get on that. And then we started in with Cobra Kai and the Book of Boba Fett on that podcast, House Podcastica. Both great so far. And then we jumped into Yellow Jackets, as we mentioned, too. So we're covering 3 shows on that right now. And on Walking Dead Cast, we're about to have a Women of Podcastica episode. It's Rima, Daphne, Wendy, and Lucy. And I don't even know for sure exactly what they're going to talk about, but I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I thought I saw online they're talking about gaming.
They were going to do games, and they still are, but I think they've broadened it out to more just whatever geeky stuff they're interested in.
Okay.
So it could be games and whatever else, yeah.
Because that threw me for a second, because I was like, Wendy, I don't take as much of a gamer.
I know. Yeah. But that's going to be cool. And it's also going to be an Ask Me Anything, so I still have to post that, but people can ask them whatever questions they want to hear from the Women of Podcastica. And then I may have a Walking Dead cast member interview coming up at the end of the month. I don't want to officially announce that until I've got it locked in, but working on that.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on over at Podcastica, and I've enjoyed being a part of it, whether it be covering The Stand on Strange Indeed, or as you mentioned, Wheel of Time with Greg and Wendy, which was a lot of fun. And
well, yeah, I mean, if I'm not just talking about myself, I should also mention Hake and Remo on Strange Indeed covering Dexter. I mean, we talked about it during the podcast, but yeah. I don't even know what they're going to do next. I don't think they've announced it.
I don't know if they've decided on anything.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and find out.
Yep.
They always cover great stuff, though. So.
They deserve a break after Lock and Key, British Bake Off, Dexter, Midnight Mass, all like crammed together.
Yeah. Cool. So as I mentioned, bringing in feedback, keep that feedback coming. The next episode of Wilhelm, this is one of the reasons why we went to every 2 weeks too, is so that I can actually announce what the next episode is going to be, so that you have time to send in feedback rather than just wait for the episode to come up. 2 weeks from today, January 28th, our first TV topic, which I'm really excited about, we'll be revealing and discussing our choices for our top 5 favorite Saturday morning cartoon series.
Oh, that's so much fun.
So I'm looking forward to diving into some of those old series, and I got to put some thought into this one, because
that's a good one.
I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 that would be on my list right now. So I really gotta, but I know there's a bunch that I loved.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I encourage you to leave feedback for that as well. Let me know what some of your favorite Saturday morning cartoons were. And you can do that in multiple ways. First off, facebook.com/the Wilhelm podcast is where the show can be found on Facebook. Encourage you to go and like it and then comment. You'll see a post for that coming up as well. You can follow on Instagram at the Wilhelm pod, or you can email me directly, thewilhelmpodcast@gmail.com. Send me an email with what some of your choices might be, or as Kat did, you can record yourself and send it to me in a voicemail. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you may be listening on that allows you to do so. And just a reminder, as I mentioned, the show is going to be every 2 weeks starting into this year, and is also going to be merging with my other podcast, The Spotlight with Ben Beck. If you didn't hear the special episode I released at the very beginning of the year detailing all of that, go back and listen to that. But it means I'm going to be bringing celebrity conversations with actors, directors. All those elements of the Spotlight podcast are coming into Wilhelm, which I'm really looking forward to. And the show will actually be moving to that feed starting March 1st. So make sure you subscribe to that feed if you haven't already before March 1st when the show moves to that. Last but not least, at the time the show moves March 1st, I will also be launching a Patreon account for that. I'm still working on the details of that, but stay tuned and I'll be releasing details for that as we get closer.
Cool.
This was definitely an extended episode, but we covered a lot.
Yep. There's so much. So of course it's going to be a big extravaganza.
Yeah. So I like doing this for the first episode of the year. It definitely, it always cracks me up, all those people that do best ofs before the year's even over. It's a year in review. It's September.
Yeah. I mean, I've only been getting into Yellow Jackets the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. But that's why I wanted to do this as the first episode of the year, because the year's over. So now we can kind of look back on it. But you've been a guest. You were the first ever guest I ever had on the show. You came back for Steve Martin. We've got other episodes for you that you're going to be coming back for as well. So thanks for coming on and doing this one with me.
Thanks, man. As always, it's a blast to be on, and I like listening when I'm not on too. So
yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody out there who listens. Thank you for the amazing feedback that you've given me already. But until next time, we'll see you on another episode of Wilhelm. Take care.
Peace.